All right, and it is time for Lightning Returns with X Shonen. Take it away.
Alright, so this is Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy XIII. I'm going to run on the console. Okay, so I'm going to run on the console category. This is 20% normal. And the timer starts as soon as I hit yes on this confirmation box. And once I do, my commentators are going to introduce themselves. They are Dyne, Nuitari, KingSPi, and Roosta. And if we're all ready to go, timer starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so
I guess I'll start us off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Immediately interrupting each other. I'm Roosta.
I am KingSPi.
I'm Dyne Nuitari.
Yeah, so this is the third entry in the 13 trilogy, Final Fantasy games, and this run is really cool. It's the shortest, and it has a lot of really interesting, unique mechanics. And maybe for some of you who have played the Final Fantasy VII remake recently, will see a lot of inspiration from this game. There's definitely some things they drew from it, so let's get right into it.
So the game, you notice right away the game took away the stagger gauge from 13 and 13.2 and replaces it with a wave right around the enemy's hit points. Stagger's still a thing, it's just in a different form. In this game, it offers different various mechanics. There, Shonen staggered the Anubis with magic, which gave him unprotected, which gave him a good increase in physical base damage. Some enemies will be physical increase, magic increase, or you'll have little stagger instances like that where if an enemy is about to do an action, you'll instantly stagger.
So right now, the game is set up as 13 days, but this is before the first day, so this is sort of like a tutorial or a day zero. So the game is just introducing the various mechanics. The first fight was for stagger, this fight is for guarding, and then just a few really simple enemies to get you some practice using the battle system before we start proceeding through the story.
Yep, and just to quickly go over the lore, so this game takes place 500 years after the events of Final Fantasy XIII-2. Essentially, the world is dying, and Lightning has been recruited by God himself to essentially save people. So right now, we're just chasing snow around, and this is how the game starts.
Yeah, to clarify on the 500 years, at the end of 13.2, Chaos was released from Valhalla, which is sort of the end of the world, and the chaos being released into the world means that time essentially stops flowing. So nobody ages, people can still die, but just people have just been listlessly waiting for 500 years, and now finally the world's about to end, and Lightning is here to try and save people into the new world.
So you might have noticed in battle that the paradigm system is no longer there just because of the solo character. What happens is you now have garbs called schematas. So you can have up to two different schematas right now, and each schemata will have up to 4 abilities. Some garbs will have abilities auto-locked to it. So, and it's nice because each garb has its own ATB bar. So while you're using one, another one will start regenerating ATB. So it makes battles pretty free-flowing once you route everything around that.
Yeah, instead of having 3 different characters, each with charging ATB, it's just Lightning's 3 different schemata that are independently charging, and so you control the one character with 3 different ATBs, and you have to manage your abilities between the garbs and how you spend your ATB throughout the whole run.
Yeah, so now Shonen is about to get into a mini-boss battle with Xaltis. So this is where you learn about the staggering mechanics of the game. But we're going to go through Xaltis pretty quickly here.
This is not the last time we'll be seeing this enemy. He comes up a few more times later. But yeah, every time we're going to take advantage of some unique mechanics. All the enemies, not all the enemies, but many enemies in this game have specific characteristics about them. Like, for example, this guy, when you stagger him, he gets unprotected, and then you can stagger him again by hitting him in the head. So Lightning jumped up and then hit him a bunch in the head, causing him to become a staggered a second time, which is when he lies down and starts taking even more damage.
Yeah, that's right. And it's interesting to note that some enemies actually take more damage depending on where you hit them. So in the case of Zaltis, hitting the head actually gives you a lot more damage.
So the damage numbers you noticed when Shonen was hitting the head turned gold. That means you're doing double base damage. This game introduces or has the mechanics from 13 and 13.2 called cut and keep. Cut is a numerical value each attack has for interrupting an enemy. Keep is the value to resist an interruption. So if cut's higher than keep, you interrupt the enemy. When you get the gold numbers, you get double cut, which means you have a really high chance of interrupting the enemy. So then, like King was saying, with hitting the head, you get an extra 50% damage bonus over hitting the body. So between unprotected and hitting the head, you're doing double base damage.
So getting back to the story a little bit, we finished the prologue and now we're ready to get into the main bulk of the story. So where we are now is called the Ark, and it essentially serves the role of like the airship from the previous games. It's essentially a place where you're away from battle and you can get anywhere in the world. And so we're in the Ark, but we can go back to the main world, and there's various places that we can go to. And as we mentioned before, the plot of the story is that we're trying to save people's souls, but to get through the plot, there's 5 main characters whose souls we have to save, and so we're going to be working through those 5 independent storylines at various points through the speedrun.
Yep, so quick note here, you may have noticed that Shonen discarded a potion from his inventory. So this is because in the Ark there's a special shop that uses EP points. So we're going to be buying some Phoenix Downs and some Warrior Potions. The Phoenix Downs we're actually buying to allow us to sell those because they sell for quite a bit of money. So in terms of the guild route for this game, it's going to allow us to buy some really good equipment early on.
No more lecture. Just remember,
Yeah, just to mention really quickly, EP is just a resource that gets refilled every day. It lets you do various actions, like it lets you overclock in fights, giving you more ATB. It lets you teleport, lets you chronostasis or cure. But right now, we don't have any need to actually use these things. So as King mentioned, we're just going to be spending it to buy items that we're going to either sell or use later.
Yeah, and Warrior's Potions will give you automatic, they will refill some of your health, as well as give you Bravery and Faith. Faith we don't really care about because we don't use magic too much in this route, for damage anyways, but Bravery is very important.
Yeah, another thing is that the run has 3 incentives right now. You can pick up the Chocobo name, 5 Midnight Mouth colors. That's basically a dress that we have to equip later on. And there's a rolling incentive with the masks that is pretty fun to watch. So if you want to donate for them, go for it.
Yeah, so just to go into that a little bit more, in about half an hour, maybe 25 minutes from now, we're going to get a Chocobo. We're going to be healing him and then riding him around through the Wildlands, which is where a few quests we have to do are, and we're going to be able to name that Chocobo. And then maybe 20-25 minutes after that, we'll be getting a dress, which is a mandatory part of the speed run, or of the story. But then for pretty much the rest of the run after that, we'll be wearing that dress. So the dress's color can be picked by that, and then thereafter, maybe 10 minutes later, we'll be able to buy these masks that the rolling incentive he mentioned was for.
Yep. Alright, so now Shonen is actually escaping 3 battles here. We're actually doing that because the shops open up at midnight. So there's a mechanic in this game where if you escape and you're playing normal mode, the game will advance by 1 hour. Why? I do not know, but that's how the game is set up. If you're playing easy mode, the game will not advance by an hour, so this is one of the interesting things about the speedrun, is that normal percent is actually, in many ways, it's sort of as fast as easy as a result of this, because we're able to use this to our advantage here.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we have 13 days. The days themselves span from 6 a.m. till 6 a.m. again, so you have 24 hours each day. And then after each time you reach 6 a.m., you have to return to the Ark and then proceed to the next day. So for the sake of casual playthroughs, that serves as a time limit, but for us when we're speedrunning, that's time we'd have to burn. And so you're able to sleep at hotels, and we're pretty much going to be sleeping every single day because we take care of what we need, and then we will just continue to the hotel to end the day. We don't want to be waiting around. It's a speedrun after all. And so, that's how the time mechanic plays in for us.
There's going to be a reoccurring theme of once we run out of EP, the day ends. The route heavily revolves around it, either for teleportation between areas, using for overclocks for fights. That's going to be the two main usages for EP at this point in time.
I don't even think it'd be going too far to say that EP pretty much dictates how the run is laid out. Basically, EP lets us teleport between places and get through certain fights with overclocks, and so basically we have to decide where do we use the EP so we use it all, and then continue to the next day to get a refill to use it all again. But
here we're going to... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Roosta.
I was going to say that the 5 main quests are to help out characters that we've seen from various parts of the trilogy so far. So Snow was the first one we saw. We were chasing him down. He's one of the people we have to help. But then we also have Caius, Saz, Fang,
Noel.
and help me out here, and Noel, right?
Noel.
So we were just... We're starting with Snow in the prologue, but the game puts you back in Luxarion instead of Yusnon, and so you sort of start working towards Noel's quest first, and so that's what we were doing just now. But there's garbs that we need for our schemata in other places, so now we have to start moving around to pick those up and make Lightning strong enough to actually defeat battles quickly.
So you start off with 6 days available, and you get extra days for defeating... or for beating a main quest, I should say.
Isn't it 7 days, and then you get 1 for each of the 5?
I thought it was 6. I could be wrong. It's early.
But, so
there's 6 main quests. Saz, Snow, Caius, Perandus, Noel, Moogles?
Moogles is part of Saz.
No, saving the villages.
So that gets you the Moogle fragment, which is for Dodge's soul, I think.
But you also get EP and item slots.
Oh. Well, I'm not sure now.
Neither am I.
All right.
Well, regardless, we haven't brought it,
case,
so it's not a problem. But the city we were in was Luxarion, which is where Noel's quest is. We're going to Yusnon now because we have to start off with here's where Snow's quest is, but more importantly, there's a shop that sells a really, really important garb that you'll see many times throughout the run, the Velvet Bouncer.
Yeah, so Velvet Bouncer comes with 2 things that really help us. One is a 10% strength increase that comes with the garb. It also comes with a Blitz ability, which is sort of an AoE attack, but it is based on strength, and that specific Blitz also comes with a plus 80 strength bonus, so this is going to be huge for us, and it's going to really allow us to make quick work of a lot of enemies.
Yeah, Blitz is an AoE ability, but we almost never use it as such. There's only a few fights where we take advantage of the damage spread. It just happens to be the ability which is from the Velvet Bouncer, happens to be the ability which is the most damage per second, the most damage per ATB, pretty much until we reach the final day.
Yeah.
I could have picked that shiny.
Yeah, so you're going to see also in this run, especially early on, you're going to notice that Lightning is just running around quite a lot. So in many ways, it feels a little bit like a running simulator. So like for the first part of the run, we're just starting a bunch of quests, getting some equipment, and then after that is really where we start completing all the quests and going through all the bosses.
So yeah, if you have any donation that you need to read, or is a good time?
Absolutely. We have $80 from Quill219, who says, my boyfriend and I wanted to 3D print PPE for our community, but couldn't secure the materials. Here's the money we would have spent. Carry on with the fight. Direct relief. And we also have a $500 anonymous donation, and of course it has no comment. But then there is a $5 donation from no comment that says anonymous.
Oh dear.
Oh wow.
There are a lot of popular attractions in the Augers Corner.
Well, regarding the PPE, a few days ago we came up with a fun idea for how to give Lightning some PPE. So we'll see that in a few minutes here. But yeah, the quest that we'll be doing later on, we have to collect fireworks. We haven't started the fireworks quest, however, we can start collecting them. So these chocobo ladies each give one firework, and so we're going to be getting 4 from the chocobo girls. We've already gotten 3, and then when we come back later, we can get the last one, and then 2 sets of 3 to finish that quest. But it's just the way the running works. It just happens to be fastest to get it then. That's when we were closest to those chocobo girls. But
So the fanatics that spawned after we did the 3 escapes on day 1, the game gives you 2 options. Either you can follow them, Metal Gear Solid style, or you can just attack and kill them. So we're going to pick the attack and kill method just because it's faster. And here you get to see the first instance of overclock. It's basically an extra ATB bar, and it has the added perk of when overclock ends, it refills ATB for all 3 garbs.
so in that fight, it was pretty straightforward. There were just 3 fanatics, and we just overclocked immediately to keep them standing still and fill our ATB up, and the Velvet Bouncer just blitz to hit them all until you're out of ATB, and you pretty much just hit them. But you could see how much damage we're already doing just because we bought that 1 garb. But that's one of the only fights we can do with just the Velvet Bouncers, so it just happens to work out well. We pick it up, come back, fight them, and then we can move on and start some more quests.
Yeah, also depending on the position that you get with the fanatics, you might preempt a ground fight that you don't want, and it can be quite a big time loss.
Yeah, there was a little manipulation he did there where he hit them once, and then only the one he wanted to fight didn't back up, and so it cleared some space and let him attack the one that was there. I'll also mention really quickly that some quests are time dependent. You can only do them at certain times, and so the first thing he did when we returned here to Luxarion was sleep to past midnight, so that we could go to Yusnan, pick up the Velvet Bouncer, and then when we come back, the fanatics would be there. If we didn't sleep till past midnight, then the fanatics would not be there. And we could go on and do other things right now. However, the next day, after beating the fanatics, there's another quest that only starts after midnight. So we can return to the hotel, sleep again, and then continue that quest. And so these time constraints are also another thing you have to think about as you go through the run. There's Gil, EP, time, shop locations. You know, it's like a really, really big traveling salesman problem. It's very, very interesting run.
There's 5 places in the world we can go to visit, and each area kind of specializes in its own thing. So Yusnan is a lot of strength-based items, which is why we got Velvet Bouncer. Luxarion's kind of just your general area. The place we're heading to next, the Dead Dunes, offers a lot of debuffs. And Deprotect mixed with another debuff called Imperil will be a large source of our damage for the whole run.
Yeah, unfortunately...
So,
oh, go ahead, Shonen.
No, nothing. Right now we're looking for a password in order to enter the fanatic section. And right now, in theory, you have to search for all the numbers. It's a 4-digit code. But we actually don't do that. We just check one that it's next to the place where we spawn, and then we try to guess the number. So it's a minor RNG section. Basically, the first number is always a 1, 2, or 3. The second one is the one that we check. In this case, it was a 6. The third is a 0, and the fourth can be a 9, an 8, or a 7. So if you want to try to guess the number in chat, feel free to do so.
I always guess 3 and 7, as that's the worst possible RNG.
I love you too.
Hey, some people think that's a reverse jinx, so.
I guess if you have a donation or two, now would be a good time because we have to go through the
Oh
phone.
yeah.
Absolutely. We have $100 from Sousaphone, who says, I'm a healthcare worker currently sewing masks and watching speedruns. Love how caring the community is. Thanks so much to the runners and the hosts and the whole community. Gotta go fast. Also $100 from I'm the Walrus 610, who says, thanks for putting this on during such a difficult time. Happy to support the cause. Kenners chipped in $100, saying, donating for Final Fantasy 13-3. Playing this game gave me so much anxiety. Please break it as much as possible.
Yeah, just quick note, Shonen. I think the number was actually a 5 and not a 6.
Oh, what's a 5? Oh my god. It might be. Yikes.
You may,
Oh yeah, it was a 5.
you may
Oh
have gotten
yeah.
some anxiety from playing this, from the days ending, too soon or not having enough time.
Oh, it was a first try with a 5. Oh my god, that was terrible.
But yeah, we thoroughly taken over the
That
time.
first try.
Awkward.
Yeah, so the one thing that's kind of interesting with the number is the 5 actually looks, so like the 6 looks like a B, and then the 5 looks kind of weird as well, so
It looks like a 6 with a hat.
yeah, I guess we all have our cues to see like which one is which. Ooh, that could have been...
Yeah, that could have been really scary with the Zomok there. And another one.
You really want to avoid encounters on the way to picking up the Crest of Etro here.
So it was mentioned earlier that we take advantage of the fact that the time advances by an hour if we have to escape a fight. We're used that many times, but our time is generally routed pretty tightly, so if we get an encounter and we don't want one, then it's really bad and we have to do some things special to make up for
What
it.
is that? Was that like the third Zomok spawn in a row?
Yeah, this is so scary now. 2 of them could have got me and I would need to chronostasis. That was actually pretty scary.
Yeah, so I guess this is a good thing to note is that this specific run, if you're trying to go for a really fast time, there's a couple of sections or a few sections where they are quite unforgiving. So if you get into any encounters, you essentially have to fight them. So you can't really escape because you're just very tight on time. So
Yeah. Oh, I'm surprised that was a 5. I was pretty sure that was a 6. Oh man, that feels so bad.
don't worry about it. We've all been there.
Yeah. So yeah, right now we're gonna get one Sith Hunter membership card. This is pretty important for the run because we're gonna get one important key item. And yeah, we have to kind of spend these 2,000 guilds on this. And that Niblet is actually pretty scary.
Yeah, so this is where you get introduced to the chaos fields. So as you can see here,
That was close.
Yeah, that
Okay,
was
so
really
so
bad.
yeah, so as you can see here, lightning is in the chaos field, and when you're in a chaos field, you can see those little purple, I guess, balls on the ground. So those are soul seeds, and to be able to complete the run, we need at least one. So either we pick one up here, or we can pick one up when we get back into Snow's Palace a little bit later in the run.
As King mentioned, if you get into some encounters, you might have to fight them instead of escaping them. However, right now, since our only offensive tool is the Velvet Bouncer, we kind of have to really avoid things. A little bit later on, once we're stronger, we can just fight through things, and that might happen in this run. But for now, we really just gotta run away from things and just try not to get into encounters.
So if Shonen would have gotten into an encounter there in the chaos increases enemy stats, hit points, magic, and strength by 50%. It also gives them a permanent regen buff, which they'll slowly restore a portion of their maximum hit points every second. So that's kind of a downside. A good upside is the amount of gil they drop is tripled. You get an extra EP for defeating them, and the buff or the items they'll drop will be one rank up. So if it normally drops like an attack level 1, it will drop an attack level 2.
So we mentioned before that the Velvet Bouncer is something that we'll see until the final day. The garb that we just purchased, the Passion Rouge, is one we'll be using until the final boss because it has D-Protect. It also has D-Shell, but as Dyne mentioned earlier, we almost never take advantage of magic damage in this run. There was a time when magic damage was used, but these days it's only physical damage, and so D-Protect will be critical until the final boss.
Bring back Element Rogue.
Yeah, the other thing that's really good about this garb and Velvet Bouncer is that they both start with 100% starting ATB, so that means that you have all of your ATB gauge completely filled at the start of the battle, so this is something that's really, really good because it allows you to queue up a bunch of attacks or abilities.
So thankfully the Dead Dune sits at such a big area gives these really handy teleport stones that you can unlock in certain areas and then just use them to warp around once you've reached another one. Unlike Houston, that's a very big area and only has one teleport spot. Thankfully with the Dead Dunes we can teleport around without using up EP.
Yep, and also as some people in the chat are noticing, this game actually has a sliding mechanic, and when Lightning is sliding, she's actually regenerating her ATB. So essentially, when we start sliding, we want to make sure that our ATB is as low as possible, just to optimize the movement. Same thing when you're climbing ladders.
Yeah, I often joke that the Savior has many powers, but her greatest one is that she regains stamina while climbing ladders.
Take that, Link from Breath of the Wild.
Alright, so... Yeah, go ahead, Dyne. So that if you
So Imperil is normally a 15% base drop. In this route, we fight the Sahagin in Chaos, which will give us a 30% drop. Sadly, this is a reset point in the run, or a run ender. So Imperil increases elemental damage done by 50%, coupled with D-Protect that increases physical damage by 33%. Both of them together, you're sitting at about a 99.5% damage increase. So between those two buffs, and later on we'll be getting an end spell, we're just getting a free double damage without including bravery or staggered conditions or anything like that.
Yeah, so when Dyne says an end spell, just I assume that some people may not know what that means. It's basically an elemental buff that's going to be on Lightning, and there's 4 specific bracelets that we can pick up throughout the run that will give us one of those. So it's either basically Enfrost, an arrow, and fire, or and thunder. And Shonen is getting the whiffs on the blitzes.
Yeah.
So you might notice here a little orb is happening sometimes around Lightning when Shonen is using Blitz. This game has a perfect timing mechanic. So if you hit if you queue up your next attack right before the attack hits the enemy, you get a 20% damage boost. Thankfully, the timing window for finishers is slightly longer than a regular attack. For magic attacks, it's generally when Lightning's hand is fully stretched out. You'll still get a 20% damage boost for that. And then there's perfect guards, which aren't necessarily needed for the speedrun themselves, but they're nice. The perfect guard will basically reduce any damage incoming to 0. Doesn't matter how powerful the attack is, as long as you can perfect guard it, you'll never take damage.
Come on, fish, give me the thing.
Yeah, I guess while Shonen is trying to get in peril, if you want to just go through a couple of donations, I think we have time.
Sure, we have $10 from Leona19, who says, I'm lucky I can work from home, but I wish I could do more to help the people working essential jobs. I gotta show COVID-19 who's boss. And $25 from Connor, who says, very cool way to contribute in a time like this. Event organizers are very inspiring, like always. And Remember, if you're looking to get in on any incentives, I know that the Chocobo's coming up in just a little bit, right? So people are going to want to, if they want to try and snipe the name, now would be the time to do it.
Correct.
So we have a save prepared in case bad things happen, basically. And well, that was kind of lucky. I guess I will give it one more shot, and if I don't get impaired, I will load the save.
Right now we are farming in Chaos, as Dyne mentioned, because it doubles the chance. But the thing is, once you beat the Sahagin, the Chaos disappears, and we're also not really prepped to actually fight out of Chaos without a Warrior's Potion or an Overclock, and so you really have to get it in your first try. So if you don't get it, you have to load the save and just try again from where you were.
Another thing to mention with the time mechanic is the Desert Sahagin stops spawning at 4 a.m. All spawns are universally replaced with a Monectin. So if Shonen was to escape from that goblet fight, he'd no longer get the Sahagin spawns. Come on, fishy.
Yeah, let's see.
So there you're also seeing Shonen breaking or causing stagger with the Blitz finisher. Any
Alright.
attack that
Yeah, go ahead.
any attack that causes stagger is a 3 times damage boost. The Blitz finisher is 50% more damage than a regular Blitz. So we're basically getting 3 finishers worth out of that one by breaking stagger. It's not really going to be used too much in the run until near the end of the game. Sadly, Blitz just doesn't offer enough stagger power to make it of use for really any other boss.
Generally, magic is better at staggering, but the number of lightning spells that Shonen casts here is just the right amount to set him up to be staggered by the Blitz, so it's a very specific setup to actually get that stagger break for the bonus damage.
So, well, eventually, after fighting the Sahagins, you will get one Imperial drop. That's the spell that we're looking for. In this case, since it's a marathon, I've counted that around 5 tries. I just did 4 because I had to escape one encounter that wasn't a Sahagin. We should be underestimated, so we prepared this save file number 5, which has the Imperial drop. And yeah, sadly we didn't get it on the proper run.
Yeah, some people were asking in chat earlier as well. If you're thinking about speedrunning this game, you can also speedrun it on PC. And one of the community members, Niji Bashira, created a mod that guarantees a 100% drop rate for Imperil, and also another ability called Magnet, which we use later on. So it kind of removes a lot of the resets from the run, so it makes this game a little bit more easy to run.
So don't be surprised if I
Yeah, the categories are separated from modded and not modded on PC.
So we visited Yusnan, Luxarion, and now the Dead Dunes. Here in the Dead Dunes, there's the Monoculous gang, whose leader we happen to know from previous entries in the trilogy. But the first thing you have to do is go through a trial to actually join the Monoculous gang, and that's what we're working on right now.
Hearing what Adonis had to say about it didn't sound like anything a normal
Right.
person could do.
So we're gonna pick one chest right now that contains the Gale Strike. That's a pretty important ability for just one specific fight. We'll talk about it later. But yeah, we have to pick this chest.
So the running ATB is tied to the primary garb he has equipped. So right now, since it's the Equilibrium garb, it's using Equilibrium's max ATB for the running gauge.
Ooh, nice, we got a buff Gale Strike.
Oh yeah, we.
So for speedrunning, as Shonen said with the Midnight Mauve, is nice because it offers plus 30 to maximum ATB, which gives us a little extra little extra dashing time later on in the run. So here the Gurungach is an enemy where when you land more debuffs on him, he takes, or the amount of stagger that's generated increases. So with 3 debuffs, we get a 3 times stagger bonus. And then when we staggered him, he got the day status. So the day status, whatever attack breaks days, gets a double damage boost.
Also, we didn't talk about this. You're seeing that sometimes I use the guard ability when I use a finisher. Well, a finisher is the last ability of a strike of the same spell or attack that deals more damage, but has a really long animation. So in order to cancel that long animation, we just can cast guard on any garb. Like we can change garbs and use the guard, and that cancels the animation, so we can start a new strike again faster. That's the main reason that light guard is equipped on the second garb. So light guard consumes less ATB, and just because it's a garb, it lets us do this setup, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, we're gonna do very little actual guarding in the run. It's mostly for guard canceling.
Exactly. On top of my head, I think I guard on Cyclops, Cactuar, and maybe Bunny.
No.
And yeah, Null too, right. Oh, and Snow. Well, yeah, there are some places where I guard, actually. But yeah, the main bosses, basically.
So here we're just getting... go ahead, Sean.
No, nothing. Right now, this is the same. Like, we're gonna get 3 tablets on the Dead Dunes. This is the first one. And we're gonna teleport to Ruffian once again to get the other one. And we're gonna get introduced to a 13 trilogy character.
Yeah, so the gimmick in this area is that we have to get 3 tablets in order to unlock 3 murals. And that's eventually going to unlock the door, which is going to take us to the boss of this area.
We basically take care of these tablets because we had to come here for the Passion Rouge anyway, so we were already here. We also needed Imperil, and this is the only place you can get it in the game, so we're here, we needed those things, and so we just do what we can before running out of EP, and then once we're out of EP, we just get out of here.
Alright, also you get one adornment here that, well, you guys can talk about it.
Yeah, so several of the quests give you adornments that you can give lightning, and the adornment you get from this is the Monoculus gang that we are just joining, and so we get the Monoculus mask for entering the gang, and it was noticed that the Monoculus mask looks a lot like a mask that you would use to stay safe from the coronavirus, so we thought it'd be a nice little treat to put that on lightning, so throughout the rest of the fights she'd be, and while running around she'd be wearing the mask to stay safe.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it, but yeah, later on we're gonna get into the mask incentive, so it's just a little bit of a thing before that incentive.
So here in the Dead Dunes we have to visit 3 shrines to get 3 murals. So we already got the one from Dry Floodlands just because we had to fight the Trial Gurungach and it was on the way. So we're gonna get the second one from here, and then we're just gonna end the day because we're out. We can't do much with 1 EP. And then this will set us up nicely for fighting the main boss in this area quite a few days from now.
I believe right now we're on day 3 and won't fight him until day 10 or 11.
Time stands still in this world while you're up in the Ark. It's a pretty handy system, isn't it?
So sometimes these shrines can be quite hectic. Enemies will just be around the corner, then instant aggro you. Thankfully, the gremlins here are quite easy to kill. The niblets are another story.
Mom, I need one spawn.
Mom, I need some skeletons.
Yeah. Mom, the game. Alright, so yeah, we killed the day by escaping this to reach the 6 a.m. time mark, and then we're gonna return to the gate and we're gonna get to the wildlands. So the Chocobo name incentive is actually pretty close. We will run a little bit, do a battle, and then we are going to name the Chocobo. So get your donations in. This is a good moment for donation readings too, if...
Absolutely. We have $10 from Briz G saying, "Hey y'all, so glad I heard about this. This is a wonderful thing y'all are doing to help out right now. Huge shout out to everyone who put this together and all the volunteers and runners helping out too. The community's amazing and you're all wonderful people." And there's $20 from Nux121 saying, "Happy to see speedrunners entertaining us all over the world from their homes. Let's hope we can raise enough money to make a difference." Well, every bit helps, Nux. Thank you very much for your generosity.
And probably go for one more.
You got it, a $50 donation from Anonymous. There is a comment this time, though, saying, "As usual, thanks for doing this. Great time and great charity."
All right, thank you. So now we're going to head over to the wildlands. So this is where we're going to find our Chocobo. And yeah, like, so the first thing that Shonen is going to do after getting to the wildlands is you're going to see that the Chocobo is not doing too well. So he's been fighting against a Chocobo eater. And so as a result, we're going to fight against that Chocobo eater, and then we're going to have to heal up the Chocobo. So that's good. That's going to be our next order of business here.
It's a local story, a superstition.
I mentioned before that we sort of path out the places we visit first because of what we actually need to be able to do fights. So the first place we went was Yusnan for the Velvet Bouncer. As King said, there's high strength equipment there. Next place we went was Dead Dunes for Deprotect to do more damage with Deprotect, and also in Peril, so debuffs. And finally we come here where we can get the in-spell item that was mentioned earlier. Here we can get the Water God armlet, which will give us automatic Infrost. So all of Lenny's attacks will have a frost damage element to them, and also you can buy potions here which give in spells. So there's some bosses that we don't want to actually use in Frost for, and so for those bosses we can get in Thunder, in Fire, and Arrow potions to give the correct element. But those are all bought here, so this is sort of why we're doing this part next.
So we're coming up to the enemy called a Chocobo Eater, or most notably known in the community as Cheater. He'll start with a lot less hit points than a normal Chocobo Eater will. It's the game's way of showing you that the Angel of Valhalla put up a really good fight. So in the speedrun, if you're not running the modded version, this guy has a 22.5% chance to drop Magnet, and then also Blizzara, which is also 22.5. Thank you, Roosta. Blizzara is a very minor time save. Magnet is a very major time save for a boss. Not a boss, but I guess a side quest for much later on in the game.
Well, we got Magnet.
Nice.
Back jump.
And a green monster
Magnet
moss.
is not.
Oh yeah, my favorite.
Magnet is not a lot of damage, but it happens to have an effect which is very useful for that fight. So we'll discuss that when we get there later. But that's not for more than an hour.
Pape. You cannot pet the dog, sadly.
Thankfully, this day, time in the beginning really isn't tight. So if you end up getting into an encounter, you can escape probably 2 or 3 of them. You end up getting sniped here in the forest without much of an issue.
We generally have it set up so that in the places where it's really, really hard to not get sniped, it's okay, or we have ways to fight the enemies, so generally it shouldn't be a big issue. You shouldn't lose a run just because of a single wayward encounter. Like, these flans are the only enemy you get there, and those flans are very easy to dodge. You just jump, and they can't get you.
Yeah, so the Chocobo was taken back to Canopa's village, which is where Shonen is headed right now. So what we're going to do here is there's going to be a sort of a side quest where we're going to get a bunch of fertilizers, which are going to unlock specific, I guess, how would you describe it, Dyne?
Sorry to interrupt you, King. You can close already the Chocobo name incentive and tell me, because we're gonna name him right now.
I think it's more.
Sorry, King, what were you saying?
Hold on, let's do the Chocobo incentive first.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like the name is going
Or I
to
can do it later, no worries.
Guile with 2 L's. So
okay.
Guille.
And it unleashed the chaos. That's bad.
Like this, I guess.
All we know is the name.
Yeah. Unseen chaos.
Nice, so
Yep.
yeah, the fertilizers.
Core of my soul.
Um,
It belongs in this world.
we're gonna take 2, talk to 1 NPC and then take 2 more. So we're gonna need them in order to heal our Chocobo. So yeah, this is a long running section of the game.
Then I guess I'd better find this assistant of Dr. Gasol's.
Also, if there are donations to read, it's a good moment.
Absolutely. We have $500 from Michael95 saying, I know this pandemic is having a serious impact on so many people, but I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I'm able to support organizations that are helping those who are impacted. So that's what I'm going to do. GDQ, thanks for putting this event together, and thank you, Michael, for your amazing generosity toward direct relief.
This is Yogg Woods. The thick, tangled
Also, you can see here that the trees hitboxes are not quite incredible. If the trees are really small, you can basically get past through them. So that's what we did on the previous section.
strange vines grow rapidly, covering the
One other quick thing we can mention that's sort of a speedrun trick is that the first thing you're supposed to do when you come to the Wildlands is go straight to Canopa's Farms, where Dr. Gasol tells you about the Chocobo who's in distress, but you don't actually have to get that information. You can just head straight to the Chocobos. So the first time we met Dr. Gasol, we'd already rescued the Chocobo and brought him back to the farm. So it's kind of a little funny thing. We just skip over that to save time.
Where is... Hello?
Oh, nice, no spawn.
What?
Oh, you didn't talk to Shirala.
Oh my god, that's true.
Load the auto save.
Oh wow. Yeah, I guess it's better. Oh my god, I forgot that. Yeah. Because I thought I'd talk to her and then go back to the Chocobo. But yeah, to name him. Oh well. Yeah, that's true. Yikes.
Yeah, the autosaves happen pretty frequently. In one of my PBs during this run, I crashed pretty much exactly where you were and just had to load the save.
Oh well.
It's the exact same one that you're loading now, and it's still okay. So
Nice.
everything should be good. Just make sure you talk to Sarala.
Yeah. Alright.
What about the show?
Is he... Hope, what do you think?
And I guess while we're going through this, if you want to read out 1 or 2 donations.
I think it's
Absolutely $10 from Lightning Venus, saying thank you to the organizers and runners for getting this event for such a great cause. We need to keep working together to support our essential workers who are keeping us safe and healthy. This is a great way to keep entertained during social distancing. Here's to a great weekend. And $20 from Chris, saying great work, guys. Always making the community look good.
Alright, so now we're truly going to make our way all the way up to Yogg Village. Yogg Village is where we can get the Vengeance Garb, which Shonen is not going to use today, but there's been a lot of routing improvements, some of those coming from Dyne and Roosta, where we can actually use the Vengeance Garb, which comes with Beatdown. It's essentially the best staggering ability in the game, and we can do some really nice buffering strats. A little bit similar to what can be done in 13.2 for those familiar with that speedrun. So we can essentially queue up an attack in one garb and then quickly switch to another garb to get the benefit of both attack and stats of the two garbs.
This is Yogg Woods.
Alright.
Foliage draws monsters who seek cover in the dark shadows. There's a village in the center of the woods, home to a band of hunters. For them, this is prime hunting ground. It's all too easy to become lost.
So if there are more donations, go for them for sure.
Sure, $15 from Wise Guy 105, saying always want to donate every time one of these events come along. Thanks to all the runners for helping to rally support to helping keep people safe. And $20 from a Black Sparrow, saying let's defeat COVID-19. I'm fortunate to be healthy and safe, so I'm hoping this helps those who need it.
Alright, quick note here, so when you make your way all the way to Yogg Village, if you see any shinies on the ground, you can actually pick them up, and there's I believe something like 25% chance, or maybe it's lower, that you can get vegetable seeds. So we need to buy 2 more vegetable seeds. So if you're lucky enough to get 2 vegetable seeds on the way to Yogg, you can actually skip a shopping tutorial that we're gonna have to go through today. And that saves maybe around 10 to 15 seconds, I would say. But it's very, very rare that you can actually get 2 vegetable seeds on the way there. I think I've only gotten that once in a year of speedrunning this game.
Alright, so we're gonna get the last fertilizer and then we're gonna teleport to the wildlands in order to get again to the Canopus farm.
So here we're just doing, we're going to happen a little bit of a gardening section. So the fertilizers will allow us to plant vegetable seeds, as King mentioned, to create, to grow Gashal greens. They take 6 hours to grow, so we're going to be killing at least 12 to 14 hours just growing greens. What was I going to say? We need 7 of them to get the Chocobo back on his feet and to the gliding status. So the Chocobo has various levels of healing. So the first level is he just gets up, he still has the bandages on his wings. And then the second one is when he jumps, he can slowly glide across the terrain, which will help us in quite a few areas for plot progression. Now, if you're playing on PC for 60 frames per second, the game wasn't really meant to play at 60 frames per second, so it has a couple of quirks. One of them is it will crash in the wildlands heading towards the Chocobo Eater. Another one is if you plant a green at 60 frames per second, it will fall through the floor and just keep falling forever. The wildlands, especially this area here, the floor is made out of tissue paper, which means it's about 1 tile thick. So the green will fall through and it won't blossom above it, so the plot will have almost like a mirror type finish to it. So if you're running this on PC, this is a point where a lot of runners will go down to 30 frames per second to plant. There are a few of them that will just YOLO it for a few second time save.
Yeah, inexplicably, Square never really acknowledged the bug, which is kind of weird considering a lot of people were complaining about it. Square, if you're watching this, please roll out a patch.
Well, the joke you can make about it is that, well, maybe Square just didn't have PCs good enough to run the game at 60 FPS.
That's what I like to use.
Yeah,
Alright, so after this...
Yeah, another interesting thing is you can actually enable what we call compatibility mode, which lets you run at like over 120 FPS, and the game is just completely broken. When you get there, you essentially cannot complete the game at all. Some of the bosses will not spawn, and you can also run pretty much forever. The ATB never goes down.
Alright, so we straight up killed the day before, and we're gonna go back. Take one Gisal green, plant another one, feed the chocobo everything we picked up, like a chocobo, fatty milk, and the Gisal green, and it's gonna heal to the first stage. After that, we're gonna take another two Gisal greens, and then we're gonna plant the last two. So we need all these Gisal greens because we need the chocobo to reach the next healing level in order to perform larger jumps and continue with the game.
So here we're just going to pick up one green, feed it to Odin. We're going to give him the green, the sheep milk, and the chocobo, which will get him to the standing. Picking up the greens from being on the chocobo is slightly faster than lightning doing it. So it's kind of a runner's choice thing if you want to just pick them all up manually or go on the chocobo and grab them. It's, in the end, it's pretty much all the same.
So at this point, we have Odin fully, or almost fully healed once we've finished giving him all the food that we've grown. There's two other big quests that we need to do in the Wildlands, but the first thing we have to do is pick up a few different items that are around, and once we've picked up those items, we'll be in completely the wrong place to do those quests, and so we instead just go and start one quest and then continue on with other quests in other places.
You can explore the Wildlands together.
So with the items we've picked up around town, it takes 7 greens. And the 2 items we picked up from the innkeeper and the chocobo hunter to get them to gliding. So here, Shonen will also be taking advantage of the outfitters here to buy Electronica. Electronica gives you Thunder Plus. So instead of it being Thunder, 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 it's Thunder, Thunder, Thundera. Spell finishers have as much stagger as the whole chain. So in this case, we're going to be getting a finisher soon, which we lose out on a little bit of minor stagger power, but get a lot of major stagger power really quickly. And then we also picked up in Thunder Potion, which we will be using for Noel.
So at this point in the run, we get to see a really cool instance of how the game, or how the speedrun is put together to make everything fit really well. So we have a full EP gauge, so we have 5 EP. Costs 3 to teleport and 2 to overclock, and we set to a specific time, 3 o'clock. And so things are arranged now so that we can go and pick up an item that we need, and then do a completely separate part of the game. We can go and fight Noel, which finishes up the Luxarion quest from where we were earlier, and then we can come back here and pick up the last item we need and be done with this area. For now, but then all those things together take about the 3 hours that we allotted ourselves and use all of the EP that we have right now. And so it's just one of those ways that the run is put together to as efficiently use our resources as quickly as possible to get what we need to do done.
So there's one main quest where we have to grab 5 soul fragments. And this trek we're going now is to get one of those 5. The item we're getting is called the Beloved's Gift. For anyone that's played 13.2, Chocobolina makes her appearance again. And we have to give her the item, the Beloved's Gift, for the Canvas of Prayers quest, Key to the Heart. And that will end up giving us a soul fragment. Or one of the 5 soul fragments we need.
Yeah, and also you could see that Shonen ended up going slightly to the left of the sheep pen earlier. This was specifically to avoid activating the Arias teleport point, just because we're never gonna need to go to Arias for anything in this category, so it's just gonna mean that the teleport list is gonna be a little bit smaller.
Alright, so right now there's coming up a pretty tight section of the game. Basically, we're gonna have to catch Noel, similar to the prologue Snow. And the thing is that in between, you can fall down through the structures, and that's really, really slow. Or also you can get caught by one of the fanatics and you're forced to fight the fight, and that's also pretty slow. So both those two things can happen. Hopefully none is going to, but yeah, that's a pretty big time loss.
So this area only opens up past midnight. This area is called the Warrens. And this is where we're going to be using that Crest of Etro we grabbed back on day 3. If you didn't pick it up, it's not a big deal. You just have to fight the Fanatic. It's a pretty weak enemy, so it's not that much of a time loss.
I've spotted Noel. I'm going after him.
Alright, so here there's going to be a little bit of a platforming section to get to Noel. This is one of the things that I think this game does really well is, if you look at the trilogy as a whole, I believe the first game didn't really have too much platforming, and then the second game, 13.2, started to introduce jumping and platforming sections, especially in the last area, Academia 500. But Lightning Returns really has platforming kind of integrated into the game in many areas. So here we're just trying to kind of jump from platform to platform and trying to dodge all these fanatics on the way to Null. So Shonen did a good job at that.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Now here we have a pretty interesting fight. So I think maybe in a bit of irony, they decided to make Null weak to lightning, or thunder magic, which lightning's the save air, so it's a bit of a little funny twist. But it was mentioned before that there's multiple stagger conditions for different bosses, and some can have multiple levels of stagger. So our job here is to pretty much stagger him once, and then we can debuff him, so he has Deprotect and Imperil, so he takes more damage from our attacks. And then Gale Strike. There's a really cool trick here where Gale Strike gets him to the threshold of his second stagger, but it doesn't actually stagger him. So all of our blitzes after using Gale Strike will do a lot of extra damage. And so as you can see, he went down really quickly there.
So with using in Thunder and Imperil and Deprotect, he's taking about 2.5 times normal damage. And the reason that trick works is Null's second stagger condition is Launch. So Launch is an auto ability. So an ability like an attack will turn into Launch when the game says, hey, you can do this. Where it's kind of an oversight that just stayed throughout this and the PC ports, where Blitz can't turn into Launch. So as Roosta was mentioning, the game is constantly thinking with every Blitz that it's going to launch Null. So in this setup, you're getting roughly a 9 times damage bonus. That's why you've seen Shonen's Blitz damage go from 3,000 up to 51,000. And then also with the 50% boost from Bravery on top of it. Much like the other 13, or probably more just like 13, is the game's a lot of just stacking as many modifiers on top of each other as we can. And you end up just getting crazy, crazy damage numbers from doing very little quests. So you can't level up in this game. The only time you gain stats is by doing quests. The main quests obviously give you the biggest chunk of stats. For Null there, we got 86 strength. For the Adonis quest, we got 3.
This is an area of twisted rock formations.
So there's not really going to be a lot of side quests done besides the mandatory ones that we have to just for game progression.
This terrain. Strange to say, the people have built a village out here. Polta, inhabited by
So yeah, right now we're gonna make our way to the water gun bracelet. So there's basically another section where we have to travel a long distance by foot, but with the help of Gil. So feel free to read donations if there are any.
Absolutely. We have $50 from Haynes FTW saying, so happy to see GDQ carrying the torch in this time of crisis and uncertainty. I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that I'm currently laid off, so having a GDQ event right now is like a light in the dark. Good luck to all the runners. And $50 from Burgeon Trucking saying, thanks to everyone who made this event possible, as well as medical professionals such as my girlfriend Rachel. Let's raise some money to help with this crisis.
You could probably read off a couple more. This is a pretty lengthy area.
Yeah.
No problem. $50 from Duffman saying, fantastic run. Great idea for an event that caught me totally by surprise, but I love it. Thanks, GDQ. And we did have some big donations coming in as well, all of them with no comment. However, we have $200 from Sellenfest, we have $200 from Eric, and we have $500 from Ronza. Thank you all very much for your generosity.
Cool. So Shonen ended up picking the Water God bracelet, which is going to give lightning, automatic, and frost. So that's going to be very helpful for a few different enemies. Chimeras later on in the run, Zaltis, which we've fought before, are also weak to ice. So we're gonna have to fight a couple more of those.
So another thing that the Chocobo Eater can drop plus magnet is the Blizzard level 1. So in case we got the Blizzard level 1, we won't need to pick the chest that I picked right now with Blizzard level 2. The levels don't mean anything about the stagger that it causes, so it doesn't really matter if I get a level 1 or level 2. It's actually better to get the level 1 since I can skip the chest. But it wasn't the case, so I just pick it up.
Another perk of defeating Null is we get a boost to our maximum EP. So instead of being able to have 5, now we have 6. Having 6 EP is a really nice routing tool. Being able to route a day around 2 teleports is a lot easier than routing it only around 1 teleport.
Yeah, 2 teleports or 3 overclocks.
So here we start the Saz main quest, where his son Daj, his soul is broken up into 5 fragments, and he's like, I've looked everywhere, I can't find anything. We go outside of his house and find a soul fragment. To Saz's benefit, though, it did fall from the sky.
Yeah, it wasn't there before talking to Saz, and it appeared after you talked to him.
So here we're just going to end the day with an encounter. And then day 6 is by far the longest day. In the speedrun, doesn't matter what route you use. So I think it uses up, it's about 1/5 of the speedrun.
Yeah, day 6 is a really long day because, as was mentioned earlier, when you're in the Dead Dunes, there's the Cactar statues, which lets you, run around and get between places easily. And so we visit the Dead Dunes many times because each time we go, we can just use the Cactar to warp to where we want to go. But now we want to take care of Yusnan, and in Yusnan, there's only one teleport point, and that's the entrance. And so once you're there, you'd really waste a lot of time having to come back, and so we just take care of everything at once. But that makes it a really interesting part of the speedrun because there's a lot to do, a lot of fights, and a lot of ways to set things up and move different pieces around. So yeah, let's go take care of that now.
So yeah, right now we're gonna go to the just now section. We're gonna trade the beloved gifts that we picked up from one chest to another fragment from that soul. And after that, we're gonna get to another pretty unforgiving section of the game if you get too many encounters. We'll talk about it later. But
So at the start of the game, we were in the Yusnan Palace. We basically started inside of the palace, but once we left, we have to get back in, and that's sort of what we're working on now. The whole quest that we started earlier was to try and get a sneak-in ticket to get into the underground area, which lets us get into the palace, or into the Augur's Quarter, which we use to get into the palace. But the first part of that is the warehouse section. So we're going to sort of sneak around the back of where the palace is and get into the warehouse section where there's several enemies that can catch you, and we need to sort of conserve time here. We have to take care of everything within a certain amount of time. In order to get into the warehouse section, you have to reach 6 p.m., and so you advance the time when you get there. And so it's already 6 p.m. We have to finish everything before 3 a.m. That's the latest you can get into the palace. And so that means there's only a few hours that we can lose due to encounters. And so that's why we have to be very careful. Luckily, most of these enemies now we're strong enough to fight. However, we really don't want to because fighting is faster than not fighting. Or, sorry, faster is slower than not fighting, obviously.
oh wait. Yikes. Okay, we're good to go. Yeah, quite some running again. On this section also we're gonna get the Midnight Mouth. There's an incentive there where you can pick up the color. I picked up the 5 that I think are the most beautiful ones, so feel free to turn up the diets if you want. So, I don't know, if you want to read any donations now, it's a good time to.
Absolutely. We have a $25 donation from Vanishment. Thank you very much. Saying, thanks, Games Done Quick, for this weekend's event, and I hope everyone stays safe and takes care of each other. We also have $10 from Crash Test saying, let's get some relief going from a distance. And I think this is the closest thing we can get at a marathon like this to a couch donation. We have $20 from Roosta.
All right. Thanks, Roosta.
I put that towards the white dress, as I think of the colors you put, that's the most beautiful.
All right.
Very similar to Yuna's dress from FF10.
No, really early first
Unfortunately, we
spawn.
can't get exactly Yuna's dress because that would be too broken in this game.
Yeah, so this is
yeah,
the
that's really
warehouse. Yeah, this is the warehouse area where, as you can see, we ended up having to get into a fight with hoplites. These enemies are actually really difficult to dodge, especially because the warehouse section is kind of a little bit tight and it's kind of set up in a narrow hallway setup. So ideally, we don't want to get into too many battles here.
I don't know how that worked, but I don't want to ask either.
I don't know either, but it was amazing.
Like, I tried to force the attack, but it didn't work, so I jumped, so they were like, man, it's the weekend, just get past through me. It's alright. You're good to go. Alright.
So we're only allotted 2 escapes here because the firework vendors, where we're going to be getting the majority of the fireworks from, close at a certain time. And if we escape more than 2, they're going to close up shop, which means we're going to have to kill a day and push everything back. And this is kind of not a pivotal day, but it can lose you a couple of seconds. The enemies after this day will get a 33% hit point increase. So an enemy like Xaltis, for example, will go from 112,000 to 156,000 hit points, which is an extra couple of blitzes, but it's still just, you're wasting a couple of seconds on each fight. So here with Cyclops, he has the same condition as Null does, where only launch will trigger second stagger. So here Shonin's just gonna Gale Strike until first stagger. He's gonna get him back to the red waves, and then just use Blitz to kill him.
Also, in case you didn't get magnet from the Chocobo Eater, this boss also drops magnet if you're lucky. So you have 2 shots to get magnet during the round on any percent.
Yeah, and magnet is a 22.5% drop rate, so technically it's supposed to be easier than in Peril, although in my testing it seems to be lower than 22.5%, so I'm not sure if the numbers are truly accurate.
Either that or you're just extremely salty.
Probably the latter, yeah.
So in 13 and 13.2, the stagger mechanic worked like the amount of damage that enemies would take scaled. The higher their chain got, and eventually they would get staggered and gain 100% extra damage from the stagger point. In this game, it's just a simple some status is gained or something happens when they get staggered. So in that Cyclops fight, you know, he has 2 staggers and he gets something from when he gets staggered, but the amount of damage doesn't go up like it does in the previous games. So there's another possible strat there where you just hit him with blitzes and don't even bother with all that effort that went into staggering. And so that's sort of the kind of thing you have to test out. Is it even worth going for the stagger, or should I just try and kill him, or how should I go about the fight?
Or some of the newer strats do ability buffering.
Yeah, Cyclops in particular is one of the enemies that has a specific, his second stagger condition is caused by, it only increases with physical abilities. And so there Shonen was using Gale Strike instead of any of his other magic spells like lightning, or like thunder, or, you know, Thundara. And so that physical thing, you can also use Beatdown as another good one from a different garb that Shonen doesn't have. But that's just the type of enemy-specific thing where, you know, you need a physical ability to stagger, to get his second stagger. And so if you don't have that ability, you could just blitz him and just trying to figure out the best way with the best combination of garbs for your schemata.
Yeah, maybe just one last reminder for the Midnight Mauve donation incentive. If you want to donate, I would say now would be a good time. The donation incentive will close in about 5 to 10 minutes roughly.
Yeah, we have to go collect the fireworks and then fight some enemies, and we will, once we're done fighting those enemies, we'll come back and put the dress on.
Yeah, so here Shonen is buying some bravery potions. Dyne, who's commentating with us today, has done some work to introduce the Thorn of Courage, which is essentially like a bracelet item that gives us automatic bravery in exchange for 5% of your HP every battle. So Shonen is not using that today, but this is something that some of the routes are using, especially on PC these days.
Yeah, I tried to do that on console. The problem on console is that with this route that I'm using right now, you basically do not reach you cannot finish the Mughal village section, sadly, but that would be really nice too.
It's not a big difference. Dyne, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you timed it to being about 10 or 15 seconds of time gain.
Yeah, it's about 15 from skipping shops, throwing potions.
It makes it a little bit dicey because to get to the Thorn of Courage, we have to cross a couple of chaos fields, and we can get into some Cyclops encounters. So, fighting Cyclops in chaos at that point in the game is it's very difficult. So, so we wouldn't want to escape anyway. So.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning those bravery potions that he bought. The potion effect is totally unnecessary. We almost don't need to heal in this game because we do so much damage so quickly. There's a few bosses where we do heal, but generally we need those potions for the bravery. And so he just bought one bravery potion for each time we need bravery against a boss. Some fights are so fast that it wouldn't even be worth the time it takes to invest in the bravery. So that's actually one of the little advantages of the Thorn of Courage, is that you get bravery for fights where you wouldn't otherwise need the time to use the bravery potion.
So at the shop, Shonen bought the Kiku Ichimonji and the Dragoon's Gauntlet. The Kiku is by far the best weapon to buy in the term of just raw attack power. So the Liberator or the Shadow Hunter have 280, 270 attack. The Kiku has something like 520 attack. And then with the Dragoon's Gauntlet giving us an extra 100, we have an additional 300 attack, not including the 25% we're getting from Velvet Bouncer. So it's a really nice damage increase. Also, just for casual play, if you buy the Kiku, then you can fully upgrade it for up to about, it's maxed out at 4,000 strength. It's by far the best weapon that you can get for casual or speedrunning terms.
Something else fans of the trilogy may notice is that Lightning's currently equipped weapon is the Shadow Hunter. It's actually Null's weapon. We got pretty much when you finish any of these quests, you get some reward at the end. So when you defeat Null, you get his weapon, and it has a nice little effect, which is plus 5% stagger power for everything that you use in that garb. It's not really critical, but it's just a nice little boost to have to reach stagger a little bit sooner on some enemies. There's another possible effect you can use, which is that if you put it on a garb which has beatdown, then beatdown finisher becomes jump. But we don't take advantage of that in this route, so that's just one of the little cool things that you get for this. It's easily the cheapest spear you can get, which has that. So that's a nice little thing about it.
One of the downsides with jump is it has a very long animation, and you can't guard cancel it like you can blitz or a spell finisher. So it's kind of, it goes off, then you're kind of sitting there waiting for about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. So in the speedrun terms, it's very situational when you're gonna actually need it and it be worth it.
But it looks really cool, though.
It does.
Alright, so right now we're gonna get to the slaughterhouse. That's the place where I picked up the last fireworks. And we're gonna do 4 fights, and then we're gonna get the Midnight Mouth. So feel free to close the incentive whenever it's possible. And after battles, you can tell me which color it got we got selected.
This makes me kind of wish that there was more teleport spots in Yusnan instead of just the station.
Yeah,
like having
you have to run across the town so much.
Yeah, this is kind of the most fetch questy of the areas.
The funny thing is, from the other side of Yusnan, where we just were inside the Auger's quarters, you can teleport halfway to the slaughterhouse and then run there. Turns out that the amount of time it takes to teleport and load Yusnan is actually about how long it takes to cross half of Yusnan. So even if you wanted to spend the EP, you wouldn't. So the actual plan at this point in the game is extremely elaborate and nonsensical. You are getting fireworks to demolish a statue to break into the palace. And even the director of the play that uses the fireworks says it's a terrible idea, but he ends up helping you anyway. But we are going to ourselves get into the play using the dress that we win from fighting these fights. And so after these battles, we will acquire that dress and it'll be our main guard for several more days in the run. Now these fights, we're seeing some familiar faces. The Anubis of the Abyss, this is the same type of enemy that was the very first enemy we fought in the run, in the tutorial at the very start. However, now it's much stronger. Enemies generally get stronger as time goes on throughout the run. But now we are also much stronger. So we had the Deprotect, the Imperil. We could stagger him and do more damage. And now the first enemy from the tutorial was the Anubis. The last enemy was the Zaltis, and we'll be seeing him now. And again, same idea. We are more powerful, so is he. But we went faster than we did before.
Yeah, you may notice also that the Zaltis here is actually named slightly differently, so it's Zaltis Brimstone. I believe they did this so that they wouldn't count against the extinction numbers. So in this game, you can actually fight a certain amount of enemies of a same kind, and you can basically extinct certain species. So once you do that, you will never get to fight any of those enemies again.
Now in this Zaltis fight, there's actually a really, really cool piece of tech that's being used. The first stagger is done with magic, just like it's typically done. His second stagger is done through hitting his head. So after he's staggered, you have to wait for his head to fall down. but once his head falls down, you hit him with a single Gale Strike that puts him near the stagger point because his head takes extra stagger from physical attacks. So the Gale Strike is a high stagger power physical attack, and then the blitzes then put him over that edge. So it's just like the fish fight from earlier. I'm blanking on the name. The fight we got in peril from.
Sahagin.
Right, the Sahagin. So we set him up so that the blitz finisher would stagger, and here the same thing, the Gale Strike, and then the blitz finisher get the triple damage plus the 1.5 from the finisher, plus all of the other things we've acquired. So get massive damage to just kill him very quickly.
Alright, just a quick heads up for Shonen. I've been told that officially white has been the winning color by exactly a penny. So thank you everyone for donating. We appreciate it, and hopefully you enjoy the dress.
Alright, so there goes white.
So I guess it's the Midnight Blanc then.
Yep. So here you see the dashing bar is increased quite a bit. It's not a whole lot of extra running around, but something's always better than nothing.
You've been spotted. Fight your way through.
So after this section, we're gonna get to the Mughal village, and we're gonna get all the masks, Retro Lightning, Retro Sarah, Lightning and Sarah's masks. There's the last rolling incentive with which mask we're gonna make Lightning have during the run. It's pretty funny because the cutscenes also play with your custom palette. So there are actually some really fun cutscenes to watch with the masks, since Lightning do not have expressions at all.
Yeah, if you want to see something terrifying, please donate for the Retro Lightning mask. It is absolutely terrifying. Shoutouts to...
By terrifying.
Yeah, shoutouts to a Japanese runner named Hogsnow, who kind of started the trend.
By horrifying, you mean absolutely amazing.
Horrifying in a good way,
Yes.
to be sure. So I mentioned earlier that there's 13 days, 12 of which we have to get through and reach the end of. Day 13, there's no time limit, but we'll talk about that more when we actually get there. We generally have to sleep most days because we don't actually spend enough time to let the day in. However, day 6 in particular, the longest day, is unique because there are a few quests that let you advance the time. So entering the warehouse district got us to 6 p.m. And then I mentioned that we had to get through to this area by 3 a.m. And now when we get to this part of the quest, it automatically advances to 3 a.m. And then getting through the palace plus the next part we do after actually gets us to the end of the day. So day 6 is the one day we do not sleep.
Yeah. Also in this place you can get pretty scary spawns. One of them is Cyclops, exactly the same as the one that we fought. And as you can imagine, having to fight one of them is a big time loss. So, I mean, we can overclock it because we get some EP back. But yeah, it's not highly recommended. Also, a really big walk-in section on the game, so feel free to read donations right now.
You got it. We have $100 from XR Tech, who says, shout out to my fellow healthcare workers and all the runners, staff, and viewers making this event possible. Hand washing hype. And there's also $25 from Hot Mespion saying, thank you GDQ for always pulling through in times of need. I'm thankful enough that I can work from home, and I want to do what I can to help wherever needed during this time of crisis. An Anonymous had a $125 donation with kind of a cool idea, saying, to those of us working from home, now's our chance to help all of those having to go in and be on the front lines on our behalf. Let's start a gas money train and donate the amount of money we've saved in gas costs from not having to commute to work.
Yeah, so now Shonen is essentially going through the prologue section again. However, this time around, we'll be able to proceed further into the palace. So the palace is kind of split up into two sections, really, the kind of the prologue section, and then the second part of the palace. This is also where you can see a lot of chaos around, so this palace is a big hotspot for chaos. Shonen, did you get a soul seed yet?
Yeah, this save has a soul seed.
Okay.
So there's no problem. Oh my god, I didn't see that niblet. Oh.
Oh, he was waiting for you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Right in the corner.
Thankfully, niblets are, I believe they are weak to fire, right? They go down pretty quickly if you
Yeah.
use fire.
Fire and magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely better than get Skatane. So, shoutouts to Skatane right now, behind the door. Well timed.
But my punch strats.
Katanes can drop the punt ability, which is useful if you couple it with a specific garb called Martial Monk, but we're not going to use that right now.
You need a very, very specific setup to make punt or whirlwind kick actually worth it.
Yeah.
Sadly, in a speedrun sense, it's never worth it.
Yeah. All right. So in the next room, there's a specific skip that you can do, which we call the crate skip. So it lets you, it essentially lets you skip a certain section. We're not going to do it today because it's very hard to do at 30 FPS or on console. It's a little bit more forgiving on PC, so you would usually see that on for PC run. So you, the little turnaround that Shonen did, you would just be able to jump straight next to the switch from the crate. It saves about.
I think it's fair to say the skip was not intended, and
No.
so it works much better at 60 FPS, and I'm guessing they only tested it on 30 FPS.
Yeah,
So.
it saves about 7 seconds, and it saves you from the potential of getting into an encounter, but it's not a big deal.
Well, it saves you the chance of getting into an encounter while you run around, but it also introduces the possibility of getting sniped out of the air by a Cyclops.
Yeah.
True.
There's still several rooms that we haven't
I think,
investigated.
as for most games, when you try to go for riskier strats, it is the way it is. You're trying to go faster, so the strats get a little bit riskier.
Perhaps you can find some clue about that. According
Start
to
throwing more to the wind.
layout, this should be Snow's room. But
Doesn't look very comfortable.
So
like a
yeah, it will
cage
take us a
with
little bit of
some
time to
wild
get to the next boss battle. That is going to be Snow. So feel free to read more donations if there are any.
We have $100 from Steven, who says, "Wish I could donate more. Always love to see these events for a great cause." EBD03 donates $25 and says, "Awesome to see GDQ and the community come together in an uncertain time. I know exactly what I'm watching all weekend. Such a great lineup." And Matt contributes $250, saying thank you to all the frontline and essential workers.
feel like dying.
So one of the things we do not allow in the any percent speedrun is DLC garbs. There's several good ones, and several that aren't so good, but one, for example, could let you dress up like Cloud Strife. So I see some people in chat mentioning Cloud wears a dress. Lightning can also dress up like Cloud, so there's definitely some overlap there. But besides that, there's one specific garb, Spira Summoner, that lets you dress up like Yuna from Final Fantasy X, which comes with an elemental spell that is extraordinarily powerful and would completely break the speedrun. So that, among many other reasons, is why it's not allowed in the any percent run.
The Elementa it has is about 70% stronger than anything you can craft. It's I don't know why they gave such a powerful spell to just that one garb, but it does make it pretty fun for bosses.
Yeah, this is maybe one point that we didn't touch upon, but you can actually level up abilities, and you can transfer specific rare or just normal buffs that come with those abilities. In the speedrun setting, it's not very useful because it would take too much time and too much farming. Somebody asks in chat, is the Mikote dress useful? It is very good against two specific enemies, but in most cases it's not that useful.
So Snow has an interesting mechanic where he responds to certain actions with certain sort of reply moves. We want to manipulate his recast and really big punch attack because right after he punches you with that, he takes extra stagger powers, so we can slow down time with an overclock and stagger him. A cool thing about staggering him like this is that it puts him in this position where he's sort of leaning over, and when he's leaning over like that, your blitzes hit him from behind, and so you get a damage boost. So you force the punch, stagger him, and then kill him quickly. And so that is a very fast battle with just several blitzes. And with really every fight, we're seeing how powerful this Velvet Bouncer we picked up right at the very beginning is.
Yeah, somebody says that the Mikote dress is pretty much needed for Arrow Knight. That is not actually true anymore. We just routed it out of another category recently. Instead of using the Mikote dress, you can also go with a setup where you use Light Slash coupled with Deep Protect Chaser, which is going to give you massive amounts of damage for very low ATB. It turns out it's probably around 40 seconds faster, maybe.
The Air Knight fight?
Yeah.
No, maybe 15.
Thought it was more.
Well, anyway, it was.
Oh, I guess yeah, with the fireworks included.
It was mentioned earlier that Day 6 is the longest day, and we're still on Day 6. It's 5:15 a.m., and we're headed to the Moogle Village. This is done now just because it takes about 55 minutes to do this, 55 in-game minutes to do this specific quest, and so it lines up perfectly with being done right when you get to Snow. And so this is another example of just doing something because doing it now lets us end the day without having to fight anything or get an encounter. But I also wanted to mention this because right after these next coming fights, there's a shop which lets us buy the masks, so I think we should be closing the donation incentive for mask choice soon.
Yeah, it's a rolling incentive, so I'm gonna buy all of them.
Okay, right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna buy all of them, and while the viewers are going to select the one that they want to see on the default garb. But yeah, I would like to know the one that is ahead right now. That would be nice.
Ready for this?
So here's a little short quest. We visit the Moogle Village where Mog from Final Fantasy XIII-2 is living with his friends, and it's under attack by these Dryad enemies. These days, these fights are very straightforward, but these Dryads have a very specific ability that can make things just sort of a nightmare. It's the summon ability, and they can summon copies of themselves, and the copies of themselves can summon more copies. So you really have to take care of them very quickly. They can only do this summon when there's no more of them left, when their friends die, and so you have to try and take care of them together. And so there you saw there was an overclock to kill all three at the same time. For the second one, you can use Magnet to pull them together and kill them together. There's other options if you don't have Magnet, but Magnet's sort of the safest way if you have it. So now that this is taken care of, I'll mention that the Lightning Retro mask is currently in the lead by a sizable margin, so we'll get to enjoy that mask for a while.
Yes. Thank you, everyone that's donated for that.
So in the meantime, feel free to read more donations.
Absolutely. $25 from Shepard, who says, "Hi, GDQ. Thanks for everything. Here in France, we're in lockdown for 31 days now. Kind of hard, and GDQ is perfect to forget about it. Keep up the good work and spread the love for games." Alex also contributed $50. Thank you very much, saying, "Bless this community for all that they do and for coming together now. Gotta go fast." Nowhere donates $100, saying, "Very excited for the long % speed run of hand washing. Thanks to all the runners and tech crew and commentators for this weekend stream. Love skis."
Yeah, this mask is terrific. I love it.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Lightning cosplaying as Lightning.
As pixelated Lightning.
So here you could try to go find an encounter, but Monectins have a very low spawn chance. That means is they'll always spawn, but it takes quite a few steps to get there. And a lot of the time we'll be leaving the Moogle village, which is a no spawn area. So sometimes it's better just to wait it out and wait to have the day end naturally.
The way the time is designed in this game is about 2.5 real seconds for 1 in-game minute. This is so that one in-game day takes about 1 hour of real time. But it takes about 10 seconds to fight and escape an encounter. So there, Shonen was at about 5:50, and so he had to wait about 25 seconds for the day to end. It would have taken him a good amount of time to find even 1 encounter, and then after he found it, it would have been 10 more seconds of just loading time of fighting and escaping. So it turns out it's just faster to wait and let the day run out that way.
So day 7 in this route is the second longest day. We'll be doing 1 main quest and then setting up most of the dead dunes for a lot of running around. Here we're going to see another familiar face. I see Chad mentioning it, Caius. Caius was a big roadblock for a lot of players casually. I had problems with him a lot when I played the game. I'm pretty sure a lot of people did. And then seeing a speedrunning just got infuriated to no end.
Yeah, I always say the same. Like, the time that I played this casually to beat Caius, what I did was look on Reddit some kind of setup that made the Caius sprite to bug, and basically he could do nothing at all, and then I could spam any bad ability that I have back on the day. So yeah, that's pretty funny that the speedrun just takes rid of him pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think most of the bosses are actually pretty difficult if you fight them as the developers intended. Unfortunately, we have very good setups for all of them except the final boss, so they all go down in less than 30 seconds, except the final boss, which happens in multiple stages.
Yeah, we do not fight them as the developers intended, I don't think.
Nope.
So there's a mechanic in this game where there's several sort of final bosses for the different parts of the game. Each of those bosses gives you gives you 5 EP. So, you know, we've talked about EP being an important resource that we try and conserve throughout the run. But for example, we just fought Snow, and that gave us 5 EP, which gave us enough to teleport and then go fight Dryads. It was mentioned that day 7 is a really long day. We have the full 7 EP, so we can use that to fight Caius, and then Caius gives us 5 more, and then we can use that to go and take care of some more errands. So now that we're actually beating big bosses, we can do more things with the EP that we're awarded with.
Yeah, people are mentioning things about developer intentions. This game is actually pretty good around not having any crazy major glitches. So, like for example, there's no real out of bound that was found for this game. So, for the most part, there's a couple of minor glitches here and there, but there's nothing like crazy big that completely breaks the game. So I think the Square did a pretty good job at making the game run pretty well.
The only major glitch in the LR speedrun I'd say is the decoy glitch, and that's only at 60 FPS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is obvious enough.
All right, so
here.
Yeah, so we're just gonna
go ahead,
quickly go through the Temple of the Goddess. This area is kind of peculiar in the sense that it's, for the most part, a little bit of platforming with long, narrow hallways. And in here we're going to find a special enemy called the Ectopuddings. And these guys are very, very annoying and difficult to dodge. So one thing that we can do is basically have lightning turn around at specific points when we think we're going to get encounters. And we can jump, which is going to increase basically the step counter for this game. And enemies will spawn in the direction that lightning is facing, so we can make them spawn behind lightning, and then we can continue on without having to fight them. It's kind of a neat manipulation.
Yeah,
Now
on the
we're using
first,
some
on the
platform.
first,
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Roosta.
I was gonna say that now that we're doing some platforming in the Midnight Mauve or Midnight Blanc, I just think it's worth mentioning that there's some nice attention to detail in this game where in the earlier dresses or earlier guards, Lightning would, after landing from a high distance, she would do a little action roll. But when you're in the dress, she doesn't want the dress to touch the ground, so she just lands on her feet and doesn't do the roll. As was mentioned in chat, when you're in this dress, she rides the chocobo side straddle, which coincidentally is actually the same way Fang rides the chocobo in 13. Fang has a similar sort of dress in that game, so it's nice little attention to detail there.
I got lucky there. I was pretty sure that Yule was gonna be scared because of that dry the spawn. That shouldn't have happened though.
So we've mentioned about the decoy glitch when we were talking about the Gashal greens, but to go over it again, since chat's asking about it, since the game wasn't meant to run at 60 frames per second, and there is some areas where the floor is made of tissue paper, items and objects will fall through the floor. In Canopus Farms, it was the Gashal greens. On a certain boss, it will be the decoy falling through the floor. So the decoy is a Moogle that has 5,000 hit points and acts kind of like a Sentinel from 13. So it'll attract all damage from the whatever enemies are out, and it takes damage at reduced, and then once the 5,000 hit points is expended, the decoy is dead. On PC, it lives safely under the floors, and then there's only very few attacks that can actually hit it. So for the one fight that we use it, instead of using 2 decoys and then relying on guard, we can use the 1 decoy for the whole fight.
Each Yule was different, but each of her souls
Also,
Yeah, my theory on that.
Yeah, go ahead, Roosta.
I was gonna say my theory on that is that like the physics was designed only to work at 30 FPS. So
Yeah.
when it calculates where the thing is as it falls, it just completely misses the check of hitting the floor, and then it just falls to the void beyond, I guess.
Yeah, and the beauty of the decoy ability is that, especially for the fight that we use it in, we can actually drop it behind the enemy, and then the enemy is going to turn around, and essentially Lightning's going to be attacking his back, and by doing that, we're going to gain positional damage, which will give us 20% of extra damage, which makes quite a big difference on that fight.
Also, there's one chest here that I skipped. In case you didn't get Magnet from the Chocobo Eater or the Cyclops, you can get it. It contains Aeroga. It's going to be a little bit slower, but it's a backup for the run. And also, another thing that I wanted to mention, back when I was next to the Protoflorian enemy, there's another escape that you can do on PC and console. Console is again a little bit more tight because of the FPS. So, well, the Protoflorian is basically the Bulbasaur enemy. So there's another jump where you can skip talking to one Jewel. Also, you take one risk, and it's basically that the Jewel can be scared because of the Protoflorian being aggressive towards you if he's really close. But yeah, it saves time, so...
Has anyone actually done that skip on console? Because I tried for like 15 minutes and couldn't get it.
I've done it a couple of
but
times.
I know that Dyne did, yeah.
I've done it in dash runs, but it's taken like 7 or 8 tries.
I only tried on my Xbox, but I hate the Xbox controller, so I just assumed it was the controller's fault, not my fault.
No, it's the way the game checks frames or checks animations.
Yeah, I mean,
There's more dead frames on console, which makes the skip quite a bit more difficult.
yeah, even on PC, it's not super trivial to do. You need, at least I use a specific setup that really helps, but if you don't have a setup, it's very unforgiving.
Yeah, and the 2 setups that we talk about in order to skip those sections, I never got it on console, never.
So a lot of the fights we fought so far have like really cool technical details that go into them, how they stagger, what we use to stagger. Kai's not so much, so for those who have troubles in this fight, just enjoy.
So what it boils down to is high strength weapons plus end spell, bravery, imperil, and deprotect. We're getting 3 times base damage just from those 4, just from bravery, end spell, imperil, and deprotect. And then also with just the massive amount of attack stat we get from the Kiku Ichimonji and the Dragoon's Gauntlet, the fight is just not a lot of enemies are going to last long, especially when you have pretty much unlimited ATB due to overclocks.
So that was a boss fight. Even more than that, that was a super boss fight. Because most enemies in this game get stronger and stronger as time goes on, but the super bosses remain the same, like Aeronite. And Caius also remains the same. So he's sort of like even beyond a normal boss, and he went down in 18 seconds.
And then we've also got. So the Kiku is the most broken weapon for just attack damage. The Chaos Revenge is the most broken weapon in terms of utility. It comes with an ability Quick Stagger 75%. It also has more strength than the Kiku, which is nice, but what we're really looking forward is the Quick Stagger 75%. So when an enemy is 3/4 of the way to stagger, any ability that's used with the Garp that has it equipped will instantly stagger the enemy. So it saves you that little bit of time of flinging a couple of extra spells. Or in the case of the last boss's last phase, it can save you quite a bit of time for skipping an extra 12 or 15 spell casts.
Yeah, so I mentioned for the Sahagin and for the Zaltis Brimstone, there was a cool tech to set the enemy up really close to stagger so that you could then stagger with a blitz. With the Chaos Revenge, there's no such tech necessary. Just get them into the red waves, and the Chaos Revenge's next attack will stagger them. So, for now, blitzes and eventually heavy slashes will be on the Chaos Revenge because that utility is very, very useful and very powerful.
Yeah, and if you notice, there was a little bit of a black orb there that Shonen ran past. This is one of the super bosses called Aeronite.
So, also, one thing that we didn't talk about is not really important, but I did it at the start of Yusnan and Snow's Palace. So, basically, when you get one encounter on a screen, normally you don't get another one. Aeronite is one of those exceptions. But, so, the thing is that if you can manage to get one encounter that is going to chase you, but you manage to get him to still chase you, like you're running, then you stop a little bit to regain ATB, then you're running again, and that time you kind of are able to avoid getting at-risk encounters, or well, you're safer, basically. I think it's pretty cool to do.
Yeah, so here we're just gonna go through the Dead Dune maze. As you can see, there are specific doors that will be open at specific times. So some doors open up at odd hours, and other doors open up at even hours. So the routing is set up in a way where we're gonna make sure that the doors we have to go through will be open when we reach them.
It's a bit interesting if you... This whole maze run is set up so that you can make it through the doors you need to at the right times. So if you get into an encounter and you escape it, you lose an hour, and that just flips all the doors, meaning that you're probably going to need to force another encounter just to flip the doors back to where they need to be for you to continue through the maze.
Yeah, and here there's going to be quite a bit of running around. There's not, I guess, too much to talk about, so if you want to run through 1 or 2 donations, I think we can probably do that right now.
Absolutely. $100 from Sturmgeist saying, giving some of my stimulus check to a great cause. Love GDQ and everything you do. Shoutouts to my 6-year-old son watching this with me on the couch. And $10 from Greg M120 saying, so great to see the gaming community come together when it's needed the most.
You can keep going if you want.
Sure, $5 from Sir Retro, saying, howdy y'all, hope all is well. Thank you for doing this during these rough days. It's nice to watch this while working from home. Stay safe and we'll get through this. And we also have a number of anonymous donations. We have $50 from Anonymous, $5 from Anonymous, $10 from Anonymous, and also the big one, $900 from Anonymous.
Wow.
No comment.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Alright, so here Shonen ended up inspecting the big door, I guess, as we call it. This is actually needed to progress with the plot, otherwise you wouldn't be able to slide down here.
Are you keeping an eye on your surroundings?
A plot trigger, effectively.
Yeah. Also, here we're gonna. Yeah, go ahead then.
Go ahead, Sean.
It's a small comment. Like, we're gonna pick 2 pilgrims crooks in order to open one gate, and we're gonna need another one to one specific point on the map, and that's it.
So this is where we really wanted the 2 murals from the 2 shrines. So we have to unlock the sacred gate to open up these. We're going to get 2 of the crux pieces and then teleport out. The reason we teleport out is it's too far to run back to where we need to get to the gate. So it's better just to teleport out, get the 3rd piece, and then come back here on a different day when we have full EP.
The Dead Dunes is very unique. Like, by comparison, Yusnan and Luxarion and the Temple of the Goddess, all these places have very linear quests where there's just a sequence of things you have to do. Whereas in the Dead Dunes, you have to visit 3 different temples, none of which are easy to get out of, and then you have to take the items you get there to this maze and deliver them, and then fight the boss, where you have to actually get to the boss, which is not in the same place as where you finish the temple, or finish the maze, or at least put the second mural down. And so this is why we've been coming back to the Dead Dunes over and over again. We do one part of it, teleport away, do something else, come back, do more, and so on. And now we've more or less finished all of the quests to unlock the final boss, and then we're gonna go leave and then come back later to actually fight him.
Slowly crumbled apart, unable to do a damn thing.
I don't really like this range position. Right, nice. Also, we're gonna pick this chest here. There's a collector catalog. It's a really important item for the late game. Basically, our buffs are gonna last longer. 50% longer?
25%.
25, okay. I went a little bit overboard.
Yeah, it's interesting to know that some potions will last longer than others. So, for example, if you try to use an elemental potion, those last, I believe, 4 minutes by default. Five. So yeah, it's essentially long enough for any battle in this game.
It's hilarious that like the elementals last for 5 minutes, but bravery lasts for 30 seconds.
Yeah, and we only picked that up just for the final boss, because all of the other battles are over within 30 seconds.
Yeah. Feel free to read donations while I wait for this door to open gently for me.
Well, you got it. We have a $25 donation from El Jajin saying a big thanks to anyone who is still working. And $50 from El Oso Gigante saying, glad to see the GDQ community coming up big with an emergency event to help during the quarantine. This kind of help is needed now more than ever.
You know, we were holding up half the
We've got a
world.
bunch of donations coming in as well. No comment again, but thank you just the same. That includes $20 from Riley193, $50 from Steve L, $50 from Loof Loof, and $100 from Maniaville.
All right, so we're coming up to the second tablet here, or rather the second shrine. So after this, we're going to get out of the maze.
It's got to be the power.
One of the things that I think is really underrated about the entire Final Fantasy XIII trilogy is the soundtrack of all 3 games is really great. While we were going through that maze, there was a song playing for the most part called Fang's Theme, which is from this game, but then at the end we had the Labyrinth of Chaos from 13-2. They like to share the music between the games in places they felt appropriate, but pretty much all of the music I think is really great, so that's one of the things I enjoy about all 3 of these speedruns, is just enjoying the music the whole time.
Yeah. Also, the endings are really good. I cry like a baby with 13-2 on Linear Returns, but I literally cry so much, especially with Linear Returns. I don't know, you get so attached to the characters during the 3 games. I don't know, I think it's really great.
Yeah, Lightning sort of gets a bad rap in popular communities because the first 4 chapters of 13, she's sort of a stick in the mud and people don't like her. She has a really good character arc from that game, and then she has another good character arc from this game. And the resolution in the ending is very powerful if you make it all the way through, and I definitely cried a little bit at the end of this one.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I blame the onion cutting ninjas that magically appear.
It actually wasn't my tears, it was Etro's tears.
Or Lucas tears.
So we get another dodge fragment from beating the dryads up. And that was one of the reasons why Shonen needed to pick up a soul seed. You can't hand in the Moogle fragment to a soul seed hunter until you hand in a soul seed. I have lost a few runs from forgetting to pick up a soul seed, and then talking to Mal and her just being like, "I can't help you. I'm sorry."
Yeah, definitely there's a reason why this save file has one soul seed on purpose after the loading, just in case.
So Shonen picked up the Wyvern Lance, which is pretty much an updated Shadow Hunter. It increases stagger power instead of the 5% up to 16%. And then the Pendragon Shield, which will give us an extra 3,000 hit points on the garb it's equipped on, which will help out quite a bit with the last boss. So we save in this route Atmos for last, just because it is one of the longest shrines, or it is the longest shrines out of all three of them.
Yeah, and just again, all of these shrines are kind of out of the way, so when we get to the tablets, either we teleport out, or in this case, we don't really have any AP to do that, so as you can see, it's past 5 a.m., so we're just gonna end the day.
Until you need to return to the Ark.
It's not necessarily the longest shrine, but it's both out of the way, and the Cactar Stone outside doesn't help you get anywhere else, so it's kind of just out on its own. Has to be handled separately from everything else.
Alright, so the last iPad.
Yeah, these tablets are, they're tablets, and so we joke that they're iPads that we have to pick up to put in the murals.
Right. Good to go. I'm surprised that those skeletons took a while to load. Wow.
I think when they're loading like that, they're enemies.
Really? Wow.
Every time I've seen the icon on console, they've always been enemy statues instead of breakable statues.
Oh, I blame that on Roosta. Kappa.
I think the statues immediately in the doorway after the first one can't be enemies, if I understand correctly.
Dry Floodlands, I think it can be.
I think it depends on the day and the shrine.
It's and how the moon aligns.
Whether Mars is in the third house.
Yes. Whether the porridge was just right.
Yeah. Someone in chat mentioned this looks like an awfully uncomfortable dress to save the world in. The thing that scares me the most is imagine sliding through the sand in those shoes.
High heels.
It's
Yeah.
And the heels.
Yeah. That's what our savior powers.
Yeah, I guess so.
To stand in the shoes.
The strongest pair of heels ever created.
So before finishing the maze that we started on Ruffian, we're gonna do one thing right now. You can switch in between them. The thing is that doing this right now, we get the help from Fang, which is pretty nice. Also, we got Magnet, so we're gonna see the fastest fight possible.
Yeah,
So the... Oh, sorry, go ahead,
no,
King.
go ahead.
So Cactuar, or Cactare, has a very interesting mechanic where the game calls it a damage threshold. And if you deal damage under the threshold, you will always deal 1 damage. Cactare's damage threshold is 65,535, which is a boatload, but he also takes 10% damage from everything. Where Magnet really comes into play because it's 4 hits for 15 ATB, and it has no finisher. If we were to grab the Aroga chest from the Caius' temple, it's 10 hits for 40 ATB, and it also includes a backflip, so you lose a lot of the time with just having to cancel the backflipping animation.
By the way, sorry, I don't know if the mask was outdated or anything in the incentive.
I haven't seen anything shown in.
Alright, thanks.
Yeah, I think lightning Retromask had a pretty sizable lead.
Okay.
So he'll take 10% from everything, but if you hit him with any ice-based abilities, it'll heal him for full damage. So Cactuar right now has 180 hit points. One Blizzara will bring him right back to full hit points, and then you kind of just, you sit there and you cry a little bit, and then you just start all over.
Yeah, the damage, there's the damage cap that was mentioned, but the damage gets reduced to 1. So basically, you just have to hit him in 180 times to kill him, since he has 180 HP.
Yeah, so the alternative strat is to use Aeroga, and if you're lucky enough that you have Aurora, then you can also use that combined with Aeroga. So, but it makes the fight kind of annoying. So using Magnet is definitely the way to go.
Just going back to the story for a second, we've been trying to take care of these different quests. The game is very non-linear in that you can go around and do whatever you want to do. But after each day, as you're traveling to and from the Ark, you get the cutscene, which sort of advances the overall plot. Typically, you have an interaction with a character called Lumina, who we haven't actually seen in the world at all. She's just been in cutscenes, but the story has been advancing as time goes on, and that's been happening in parallel with the non-linear aspects of the story. And as time goes on, we're starting to gain suspicion that this god fellow that we're doing these missions for might not be all he's cracked up to be.
So Magnet is basically just an ability where it will draw mostly small-based enemies together if they're within the radius of the spell. So what the game majorly plans you to use it for is just positioning enemies. So the first fight in the slaughterhouse with 6 gremlins, Shonen could have used Magnet to group the 6 gremlins together into a nice little ball and then blitz them all at once. The issue with that is sometimes one of the gremlins will just walk away and won't get caught in the radius of the spell. So that's the main purpose for Magnet. It just happens to work out nicely in a new game setting where it works really good for that, for Cactuar as well.
It's just one of those things where you just consider every ability and say which one can do the most damage the most quickly, and it turns out Magnet is the one for Cactuar. Unfortunately, it's a 0% chance drop when King is on a good run.
Thanks, Roosta.
Just add some salt.
Hey, your PB has it. You should be happy. That just means your PB is on a good run, right?
All right, we can probably take 1 or 2 donations here.
Oh, yeah.
Sure thing. We have $25 from Terrakeet saying, the feeling of pride and community I get whenever I watch GDQ is very appreciated during these uncertain times. Best wishes to the organizers, runners, and listeners, and to those working on the front lines, both willingly and unwillingly. I hope we can do better by you.
All right, so we're just picking up the final tablet, or rather visiting the final mural, and that's going to open up the door to the next boss, which is going to be Perandus, also known as Panda in the community.
I called him Panda on accident because Final Fantasy XII has a wind weak enemy called Pandemonium, and so I just couldn't remember the name Perandus and just said Panda, and haven't lived it down since.
So Perandus is one of the reasons why we bought an arrow potion from Polte. So he'll take normal damage from ice, but he'll take boosted damage from wind. So with Imperil, we're going to get double damage just from that, not including any other stagger conditions. So we throw in an arrow and bravery here, while Perandus is using absolute barrier. You can't generate stagger. So you kind of have 6-7 seconds of just dead time anyways.
Yes.
So, and you can't debuff them until stagger happens anyways.
Yeah, so Perandus has 2 nasty attacks. One of them is Ruinga, which can launch you, and the other one is, I don't know exactly what it's called, but he has a slap attack, which can also launch you.
I love this setup, Shonen, where the second blast of Ruinga hits right after overclock.
Yeah, it looks pretty
Every
cool.
run I've seen you do, you always overclock right at the beginning of Ruinga.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fight looked pretty straightforward, but there's like a lot of skill in trying to predict his attacks, just because the two specific slap and Ruinga launch, and when you get launched, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, dodging or like blocking the slap is especially difficult because it comes very quickly.
And it has no text to warn you. He just does it.
Research camp. I always have to take 1 second there because I was thinking I have to go to Ruffian, but
Yeah,
it's
so
not
here
Ruffian.
we actually go through the door to be able to skip a cutscene. If you don't do that, there will be a cutscene that you won't be able to skip. So it's actually faster to go through the door.
You know, we're almost done with the midnight move. I just noticed Lightning's wearing gloves, so she's really well prepared at the moment.
She's got her PPE.
Yeah.
So here we're just handing in the SAS main quest because we have all 5 of the fragments. And then we're basically just going to sleep the next 2 days away. So the main importance in the next little bit is after day 10, Hope gets a shop upgrade. So instead of selling Warriors potions, we end up getting Heroes potions, which will give us Bravery, Faith, Vigilance, and
Haste.
Haste. I thought I said that, but I wasn't sure. Thank you, King. For 1 minute. So with the Collector's Catalog, it's 75 seconds. And these will be huge for the last day.
And say bye to Gil. We're not gonna use the Choco anymore.
Bye, Guile.
Pepe hands.
You've served us well, Angel of Valhalla.
So yeah, basically right now we're teleporting to the north station in order to sleep these days. So it's definitely an incredible good opportunity to read all the donations right now.
Absolutely. We have $250 from Samalander that says, I work to support the plumbers and pipe fitters on the front lines, building the emergency hospitals and making sure that our buildings are safe to come back to. Thank you to GDQ for helping to take care of them and all the other essential people on the front lines. What a wonderful community we're part of. Thank you for bringing hope. And we have $50 from Shmengo Fett that says, thanks to GDQ for doing this event. And a massive thank you to all of the nurses, doctors, and all other essential workers that are keeping this world running in this trying time. And we have a $250 anonymous donation, and they just say, heart.
Yeah, we're really grateful for all the donations, and as they say in this trilogy, it's up to us to keep hope alive.
Are you doing okay?
So yeah, after killing this day, when we get to the Ark, we're gonna get introduced to one of the abilities that we took. It's gonna be Decoy. And we're gonna buy some Heroes potions and kill the day again, and buy Heroes potions and kill the day. So, very fun and interactive.
Basically, the main quests that we work through, each one unlocks a new day, and the goal to reach the end game is to have all of these days unlocked. If you reach the end of the time limit before unlocking all these days, then the world just ends and you fail your mission. So we had to complete all these quests, and now we have done so, but we did it in 11 days instead of 13, and so we each have to sleep these last few days away. Shonen mentioned that we came to Luxarion to sleep. It just so happens that the place that you can reach and end the fastest from the teleport menu is the Lux North Hotel. And so there's a few other alternatives, but each one takes a few seconds longer, so we just came here to sleep.
Yeah, also on the menu when you teleport, the first input is Luxarion North.
Yeah. Ruffian's also pretty close, but it takes a little longer to load. Lux
Yeah.
South, the running is a little bit further, and so on.
Well,
So we now unlock the final day, and we're stocked up on heroes potions that let us give us the haste and bravery in particular are the big ones. Haste will recharge your ATB bars more quickly, especially the ones that are not active. Vigilance is also nice for a few spots, but generally it's the haste and the bravery that we want these potions for. But now that we're on the final day, there's only a few fights left. A few short ones leading up to the final boss, which is probably one of the most difficult single fights in even all of Final Fantasy speedruns. Maybe not the hardest, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, and it's important to note that Shonen is buying the heroes potions before getting to the final day, just because we want to start with a full EP gauge, essentially with all of our EP points on the final day, because we want to get to the final boss with all of our EP.
Yeah, we need all the help we can get on this guy because he is tough.
It's interesting because it's pretty much the only fight that is done in multiple phases, and you have no way to refill your EP. I mean, there are certain items that you can get in the game that allows you to do that, like ethers or even the elixir, but we can't really get them quick enough in the context of any percent.
Yeah. Also, if you wanna keep going with donations, this is definitely the place to go.
Well, we have a bunch of $100 donations that came in. We have $100 from Tina, and then the Anonymi, three of them, Anonymous, and Anonymous, all with $100, all with no comment.
Wow, this Anonymous is killing the day today.
Definitely the MVP. There's $50 from Ori saying, hope everyone is staying safe when they can. Please remember to help others as you can, and we're all in this together. And $5 from Shy107 saying, thank you runners and staff for putting something on while in self-isolation. Stay safe, everyone.
All right, so I guess now would probably be a good time to start touching on some of the battles that we're going to fight during the final day. So the first fight that we're going to go into is the fight against a couple of super guards. One thing that's kind of neat about this fight is Shonen is going to do what we call the reinforcement skip. So when the battle starts, one of the guards is going to use the reinforcement command to call for help. And this is one of the cases where we're going to use overclock to slow time and then stagger that guard to essentially cancel the command. And the guard is going to get the confused debuff. So by doing that, we're only going to be able to, we're going to be able to fight two guards instead of fighting multiple guards, which is very convenient and will make the fight much faster. So it's one of the cases where we actually use staggered debuffs to our advantage.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique fight during the run.
It's a lot like the Dryads fight in the sense that the Dryads can produce copies of themselves, similar to the reinforcement. But you just have to take care of them before they do that, or else the fight gets really, really bad.
Yeah,
and the super guards actually deal quite a lot of damage, especially considering that we have still fairly low stats.
As someone's mentioning in chat, Lightning Returns does have a quote-unquote 100% run. It's called New Game Plus Dash. Dash stands for Disaster, All Side Quests, and Heroic Guard. So it's done over 2 playthroughs, one on normal, one on hard. We fight Aeronite and Erishkigal. We do the Ultimate Lair. We do all side quests. And even with doing 61 side quests, all the main quests, and fighting both super bosses, we still end up sleeping 2 days at the end. So the time, like when you're first playing it casually, is a little bit daunting just because you really don't know what's going on. But that's one of the good things about the New Game Plus feature is you lose your quest progression, which kind of sucks, but you keep all your stats and abilities, which is nice. So you can just slowly just keep just making a little more progression.
So So until now, we've been loaded out with the Velvet Bouncer for physical damage and the Midnight Mauve, mostly because it was necessary for the plot, but it also gave us some stagger power. Now, in this final day, we've unlocked the upgrade to our 3 default garbs, the Dark Muse, Equilibrium, and Mist Wizard. These upgrades are actually pretty awesome. In particular, the Dark Muse gets a very, very strong heavy slash ability, which we're going to see a lot more. It's basically replaced our Blitz, but heavy slash does a lot of damage, and it also comes with stagger power. So you can stagger things just by hitting them with heavy slash alone. Combining that with the quick stagger of the Chaos Revenge from Caius is a very lethal combo, and we'll see enemies going down very quickly to this. Other than that, there's also the Equilibrium, which we put our second best weapon, the Kiku Ichimoji, on. That's going to give us a little bit of extra damage, but really the bulk of the damage is going to be coming from Dark Muse Plus.
Also, during the run, you can get heavy slash drops that you can equip on the Dark Muse in order to get extra damage. Sadly, I didn't get any, so my Dark Muse is a little bit weaker.
Yeah, buffed abilities can be put on any guard to make their stats be increased. There's actually one or two more chances these guards and also the sets before the final boss can also drop buff things, so maybe we'll get lucky.
You had a plus 80 Gale Strike, didn't you?
Yeah.
I checked that out and I didn't see anything.
Pretty sure you had.
But I could... Oh yeah, I have the buff Gale Strike on, but the one that I pick on the chest, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I have that buffed.
And that's equipped on Dark Muse Plus, I see.
Yeah. I thought you said that I got a drop of Gale Strike.
No.
Alright. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, that's a little bit extra damage that helps indeed.
So now only 3 fights left. Those 3 fights sort of come pretty quickly together. For now, we just have to finish running through this temple area. So now would actually be a good time for more donations if you have any.
You got it. We have $25 from Sophie113 saying, I'm staying indoors, my head clean shaven, the walls painted, whipped coffee made. I'm saving lives and watching games done quick. Living the dream.
No, I promise
And also
I
a
won't let your wishes
$5
die
anonymous
here.
donation saying, nice to see GDQ helping out in any way they can. Stay safe, everyone.
If we got to watch the cutscenes here, it's sort of a greatest hits of everyone we've been helping out so far. Noel comes and helps us. A little bit Fang will show up. We got to see Vanille. We're actually going to save Vanille right now. And so it's sort of like getting everyone's help that we've been helping out so far on the final day.
Yeah, also one quick thing to mention is that if someone is really into glitches, if for some reason we could manage to go through the first floor on this section, we would end up right straight into the final boss. So that would be a really, really good escape if someone is interested in doing some science.
And we do know the floors are made out of tissue paper, so it could be possible.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, the speedrun would
Only
be very
certain
interesting.
floors are.
It would be a 30-minute boss fight, and it would be kind of interesting to see what kind of setup we would need for that.
Miss one perfect guard and it's game over.
Yeah.
I should have guessed. You all right, Lightning?
So the Chimera, we're gonna see Shonen taking advantage of the positional damage. So here we're gonna stagger him, and then Shonen's gonna walk around to the backside. There's a riskier strat where you can overclock as soon as stagger happens. So when Chimera staggered, you get double damage. If you end up breaking the wind head or the thunder head, the stagger will end, which means you'll lose your double damage bonus. So by going to the butt, you get a 20% damage bonus due to the positional modifier, and it makes the fight pretty much free.
And you can see there how strong that heavy slash is. It's putting in work. And also has a very cool animation.
So Blitz was a 2.1 times modifier, attack modifier. Heavy Slash is 8. So it is a very nice damage increase.
Yeah, even if you're losing that 10% from Velvet Bouncer, it's still much better.
You'll also notice that every time lightning does a heavy slash, the camera sort of gets hijacked by the move, and you get like a cool zoom in for the animation. This is just because every heavy slash is basically a heavy slash finisher, or there's no normal, it's all finishers, and so that also means that you're going to want to guard cancel all of your heavy slashes.
Benevelza, you took everyone.
So yeah, basically we're coming up to the last boss battle. If you want to read 3 donations or so, this is the time, because we will need to explain a lot of things on that battle.
Absolutely. We have $15 from Rosetta that says, stay safe and play some games, everyone. We have $250 from Crease, $100 from Beanloaf, and $50 from Swampy, the 3 of them with no comment. And then $5 from Remy RM saying, hey, Shonen and Couch, good luck and beat that meanie boonie. I'll be taking notes.
Shoutouts to Remy. He always watches our streams on Lightning Returns.
Yes, pretty soon in this stream will be Boonie, Boonie, Boonie rocking everywhere.
So, one of the things to note about the final boss is we can't just overclock them down like we did everyone else. So instead of like Caius having 800,000 hit points, Benevelza between all 4 phases is about 3.5, 3.6 million hit points. Now this is the first part of the game where you really feel the lack of stats. So even though we're still going to get all the extra damage, it's just going through just an endless cattle cave of hit points over and over again, where it's not uncommon for runners or people learning this game to spend as much time, if not more, practicing this fight than the run itself.
Yep.
Also, one quick thing. Timer is going to end as soon as I clear the results on the last phase. I will tell it, but just to keep that in mind.
So phase 1 of Benevelza, the team of that phase he's going to use Doom on Lightning. So Doom is going to take the place of 1 buff. So we have to manage our buffs pretty carefully there. So we just have to basically finish that phase as quickly as we can.
So lightning or enemies can have a maximum of 5 buffs or debuffs. So if we were to throw a hero's potion instead of the bravery, we would have lost bravery because Doom taking up that slot like King was mentioning. This is the only time where it's really relevant in the speedrun. So, and each phase has its own kind of stagger condition. The first one will give you unprotected, which is physical increase up. Second one's unshelled, which we don't care about because we're not relying on magic for damage.
Just want to give a quick shout out. The song playing now, Divine Love, is definitely a top tier Final Fantasy track. It's a really great song, so appreciate that.
So here, Shonen does attack decoy. Now, since lightning's so close to Benevelza, the decoy falls on the other side of Booney, which means that the decoy is going to take all the damage, and lightning has no risk of taking spell damage.
Alright, this is going to be scary now.
Yeah, so we have to watch out for this attack, Wings of Destruction.
You took 4 hits of damage.
Yeah.
It should be fine as long as the...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's let's see. It's going to be interesting, definitely.
So going into this fight, we had our in-spell that we got earlier, the Water God bracelet. However, Benevelza in this phase picks a random element, and so we also needed an extra potion because the Water God doesn't last long enough. It only lasts 60 seconds, and this fight's at least 3 minutes on console typically. So we bought, I believe, an Frost potion. However, there he died and had to use a Phoenix down, but he can also just pick Frost Spirit. And if he picks Frost Spirit and you have Frost, that means that you'll lose your Frost. And so he also had an Arrow potion. So after dying, he has only the Arrow potion left. So if he got Wind Spirit, things could have gotten hairy, but luckily we're okay. Now, going to third phase, what you get for staggering in the third phase is daze. Daze stops the enemy from doing any actions, but also makes the next hit cause double damage. Well, actually, it makes everything do double damage, but a single attack causes daze to wear off. So now we're just going to be going in, doing as much damage as quickly as we can. There's another little gimmick in this part, which is the more buffs he buffs himself as time goes on, and the more buffs he has, the more he hits you, or the more times he hits you per round. So you got 2 buffs now, which means two hits per round, but he's almost dead.
Yeah,
so.
phase 3 is definitely one of the most annoying ones because his attacks are all pretty annoying when you don't have the luxury of a decoy that falls through the ground.
So phase 4 is where a lot of people get, and then the game just hands you a really bad curveball.
And this is the final phase, by the way, so
yeah,
time soon.
So he has a really high stagger limit and a really high stagger decay, which means the amount of stagger you generate will disappear quite quickly. So if you load up physicals and get to this phase, you're in a world of trouble because physicals don't generate stagger nearly as nicely as spells do.
You also have to jump to get up to him.
Yes. So when Bunafels is staggered, he gets, he's dead in the water for 62.3 seconds. He also takes 5 times damage from physical and magical. So Shonen right now is doing 5 times damage. If you wouldn't have lost...
because I lost an arrow.
No, it's
you're fine.
Use disaster.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's gonna take a bit longer.
Okay, we're good. Okay, so time is coming up.
Yeah, when he gets staggered, he's stuck doing nothing for a full minute. So this is
Pretty much
GG.
And
GG.
time. So hopefully it didn't get overestimated, but it's going to be close. So yeah, this was Final Fantasy Line Returns Final Fantasy 13. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. Also, if someone is interested on learning any of the 13 trilogy games, you can join our Discord trilogy server. Basically, you can look for it on either Final Fantasy 13, 13-2 or Lightning Returns. It's going to be on next to the resources, so you are welcome to the community. And basically there are some people with the role of mentor, where basically they know most of the game or they have really good times and they can help you a lot.
And just so you know, the final time was 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 25 seconds.
Wow, that was close. But nice.
No, calculated. That's what you're supposed to say.
Okay, calculate.
You should have watched 35 seconds of the Caius cutscene with the lightning retro mask.
Yeah, I didn't do it because I messed up in the wildlands because of not talking to Sarala, so I didn't know.
Yeah, it was, and of course, no imperil, as is typical for marathon luck.
Yeah. So yeah, this is all for me. I don't know if you guys have something else to say.
No, just thanks for inviting us, and yeah, hopefully everyone has a good time.
Someone will take up the torch.
Yeah, thanks everyone for taking this game into the GDQ marathon. It's always appreciated to give a little bit of love to the 13 games.
Appreciate all the donations and the one person who donated an extra cent to get that white dress for me. I appreciate that one.
Yeah, big shout out.
Thank you everyone for donating, Chad, GDQ for letting the run in. Be sure to stick around, guys. Plenty more good runs to come.
Well, thank you very much, Shonen, for that amazing run of Lightning Returns. And during that run, we did break $90,000 for direct relief. So congratulations to all of you as well for your generosity. We're going to get to some of those donations here, including $100 from Zero Fox, saying, so proud to see the gaming community come together once again to do so much good. I know times are strange right now, but I take such comfort, knowing that we can always come together for the greater good. Love you all. Keep those donations coming. There's $25 from Toxinsomnia, saying it's always a treat to have GDQ around, and I'm extra thankful for the quality speedruns during this time when I've been looking for more things to do at home. Not only that, but it helps fight Corona. Wonderful. I'll be donating throughout the weekend. And we do have some great games coming up. Alien Isolation with Nico Hart is what they're getting set up now. It'll be a few minutes before that's ready for you. And in the meantime, we do have some more of your awesome generosity, including $50 from Akaya, saying, hey there, longtime viewer, first-time donator here. Many thanks to everybody involved. Stick to this social distancing strat, and we will blitz through COVID in world record speed. We have a $15 donation here from Paul Jones saying, shout out to my parents who said video games were worthless. Look where we are now, saving the world one speed run at a time. Really proud of this community and the lives we all save. Yay, GDQ! Also, Clark contributes $25 to Direct Relief and has a simple message: save the frames, kill the virus. Lady Rock Laura contributes $100. Thank you very much for your generosity, Lady Rock Laura, saying, donating in honor of a dear family member on the front lines as an ICU nurse in San Francisco. Stay safe, everyone. And as usual, the train of Anonymous coming through with some amazing donations. Anonymous donates $50. Anonymous donates $20. Anonymous also donates $60. And Anonymous with $75. All of those donations with no comment. Thank you, Anonymous, Anonymous, everybody who is donating to Corona Relief Done Quick. Griffin 178 contributes $50 and says, nerds unite, COVID can't stop GDQ. And we have an anonymous $10 donation that just says, you guys rule. I think you rule, Anonymous. Knox213 donated $250 and says thank you to the runners and to all of our medical professionals out there on the front lines. AI shares that sentiment as well with $50, saying thanks to the staff, runners, and frontline workers for this. Stay home and stay safe. We also have a $10 donation. We also have a $10 donation And of course, we appreciate your generosity as always, even if you don't have a comment, as led by Anonymous, who donates $25 with no comment. Celtic79 donates $50. Gameplays Jace contributes $10. Splashy Pants donates $10. And Anonymous with $25. All of those donations with no comment, but still incredible nonetheless. There are some incentives you can still get in on, some bid wars and different things as well that'll be coming up here a little bit later, including the file name choice for Castlevania III Dracula's Curse. You may have seen it pop up on your screen there just a minute ago. The two leading options right now are Rick and Roll, both of them with $20. Can also choose between the social distancing and the Castlevania Anime Season 3 routes for the Castlevania run. You pick the difference between Sypha and Trevor. Wish I knew a little bit more about Castlevania 3 so I could help you make that decision. But right now, Sypha is leading with $165. A little bit of love that came in from earlier this evening. $94 from Anonymous that said that KOTOR run was crazy. Thanks for holding this mini marathon. It's a welcome distraction. Donating to see the Mario Sunshine Glitch Showcase. Now, the Mario Sunshine Glitch exhibition, we've still got quite a bit of time on that, but you want to get those donations in because the Glitch exhibition after the Mario Sunshine race will be awesome. Now, it's at about $4,600 of $15,000, so there is a ways to go. Feel free to get those donations in sooner rather than later to help get that incentive met. Well, and that is going to do it for me. I've been YoBGS, and up next, we've got Sakura Tsubasa, who will be taking over the hosting microphone for a bit. I'll see you a little bit tomorrow morning, and we're going to throw it to a quick Twitch ad. Have a good night.
Everyone, and welcome back to Corona Relief Done Quick 2020. Next up, we have Alien Isolation, which I'm super excited for, run by Nico Hart. My name is Sakura Tsubasa, and I'll be your host for the next few hours. So before we get started with our next run, then let's talk about the charity that we're all here for, Direct Relief. So Direct Relief's COVID-19 coronavirus efforts are focused on the personal protective equipment, masks, gowns, gloves, etc. that are most needed across the world. In addition to providing PPE, Direct Relief is supporting U.S. communities, clinics, and health centers with chronic diseases, medications to make sure that people living with these conditions do not go into acute crisis as a result of the surge of people needing medical care due to COVID-19. Direct Relief is ramping up efforts to provide the prescription medications and medical resources needed for the most severe cases that require hospitalization and ICU care. You can learn more about Direct Relief's ongoing efforts related to COVID-19 at www.directrelief.org/emergency/coronavirus-outbreak/. We have a few donations here. We have a $10 donation from Scott's Desmond that reads, "Good luck to Nico Hart on his AI run." We have a $25 donation from Xander Ishalera, which reads, awesome initiative as usual. Keep up the good work." We have a $15 donation from Sody Pops that reads, "My birthday is coming up tomorrow, and what better way to celebrate than watching CRDQ?" I agree. I've been watching a lot of runs. There's been a lot of fantastic runs today already. Anyone in chat have some favorites that they've already seen? We have an anonymous $20 donation that's come in with no comment. Thank you so much. As well as a $100 donation from Unknown AZN. Thank you so much. That also did not have a comment. We have a $75 donation from Anonymous that reads, "Good luck, have fun." We also have a $100 donation from Prometheus that says, "Let's rip and tear COVID-19." And speaking of rip and tear, there are a few bid incentives that are open up right now, or donation incentives. At the moment, we have a few that still have yet to be met. Take a look here. We have the bonus Doom Eternal any percent run that has not been met yet. Still about $44,500 off from it. So if you're looking for something to donate to, we've got a couple of runs here that still haven't been met. Super Mario Sunshine Glitch Exhibition. They'll need about 10,400 for that one as well. All right. And without further ado, here is Nico Hart with Alien Isolation, any percent CC only.
How you guys doing? My name is Nico Hart. I'm a UK variety streamer and speedrunner for Alien Isolation. I hope you guys are doing well. Good time zone to you all. The run that we are doing today is any percent CC only. That stands for crouch clipping only. And to do that, we have to do a few pre-requirements. But before we do anything, I do have a few couch commentators. So please, start going cold. Please go ahead and say who you are.
Hey guys, I'm Psycho Hypnotic from Switzerland and I'm a speedrunner of this game since the inception in late 2014. I was heavily involved in the glitch finding process in the early days and currently holding the world record for the no major glitches category on Nightmare, which is 2 hours, 43 minutes and 8 seconds.
Hey everyone, my name's Cold401, I'm from the UK. I've been running this game since October 2019 and I currently hold the world record for this category with 22 minutes and 54 seconds.
Right, so for crouch clipping only, there are a few pre-requirements that we have to do. So first off, we've got to set this game into Italian. For most of the speedruns that you will do for Alien Isolation, you set it to Italian because it is 30 seconds faster of an overall language pack. It's about maybe 6 to 7 seconds